What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day, another episode of 30NSG. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Microsoft Windows 10, how they are raising prices. They're making a problem and then selling you the solution by 2025. We're going to be talking about Xbox isn't the only one rethinking console exclusives, an article from IGN. We're going to be talking about Ubisoft Forward confirmed for June, same week as Summer Game Fest. And then we're going to check out a video, or actually another story from Hellblade. Will be 30 frames per second, only on the Xbox consoles. And then we're going to look at a video called Publishers Are Destroying Video Games. This is what's on today's show. We do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning to about noon Eastern. If you like what we do here, please make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. What's going on, Water? So let's get to it because there's a lot of stuff. The video is pretty long, so... Let's get into the main stuff here. What's going on, Rowick? So the first story I want to talk about here is it's come from The Verge. Tom Warren wrote this. It says Microsoft reveals how much businesses will have to pay to keep using Windows 10 securely. Okay. And it says Microsoft is ending support for Windows 10 on October 14th, 2025, and you'll need to pay yearly if you want to continue using the operating system. Okay, Microsoft will also offer extended updates for Windows 10 users with pricing starting at $61 for the first year. The pricing for additional updates will offer a consumer to the first time ever with Windows 10, and businesses and consumers will need to purchase an ESU license for each Windows 10. Okay, so the device that is planned to keep using after the end support cutoff date next year. Now, for businesses, the first year is priced at $61, and then it doubles to $122 for the second year. Okay, and then it doubles again in year 3 for $244 if you enter into the ESU program in year 2. You'll also have to pay for year 1 as well, since ESU are cumulative. Okay. So on Wednesday, Microsoft updated Windows IT Pro blog post to note that the pricing listed applies to commercial organizations only, and detailed of consumer pricing will be shared at a later date. Okay, so Microsoft typically only offers subscriptions for extended security updates organizations that needed to keep running older versions of the Windows. This time around, it's different, as there are still a large number of people on Windows 10, nearly 9 years since the release of 2015. Now, the updates are not intended to be a long-term solution, but rather a temporary bridge, explains Microsoft in a blog post. You could purchase the ESU license for Windows 10 device that you don't plan to upgrade for Windows 11 starting on October 2024, 1 year before the end of the support date. Now, Microsoft is offering a 25% discount to businesses that use Microsoft cloud-based update solutions like Intune with Windows Auto Patch, and this drops for pricing to $45 per user, up to 5 devices. For the first year. Now, if you're using Windows 10 on laptops and PCs to connect to Windows 11 Cloud PC through Windows 365, then Microsoft is waiving the fees for security updates since licenses are included into Windows 365 subscription cost. Now, schools even get a bigger discount for Microsoft, offering a $1 license for a year, and then doubles to $2 and then $4. Okay. So naturally, Microsoft wants consumers to move from Windows to Windows 11. Instead of millions of PCs can't upgrade officially to Windows 11 due to the more strict hardware requirements for Microsoft, and pushes it with the latest OS. Now, Windows 11 is only supported to CPUs released from 2018 and onward, and with devices that support TMP security chips. Now, as a result, Windows 11 has lagged behind the Windows 10 rollout, which is offered to Windows 7 and Windows 8 users as free upgrade Windows 11, and also free upgrade from only for Windows 10 machines that meet the strict minimum hardware requirements. Now, the stat counter says Windows 10 is still used by 69% of the Windows Windows user, compared to 27% of Windows 11, and this is a big gap that Microsoft is unlikely to close over the becoming next 18 months, leaving many Windows users having to consider paying for the update for the first time. I always talk about companies, how the companies always make the problem sell the solution, right? So something's not selling, and what's not selling is Windows 11, right? And they're like, well, let's just force them into it. So if they don't get Windows 11 because maybe a company has all these old machines, or you're a user that has an older machine that can't get Windows 11, But now they're forcing you, well, if you want to keep Windows 10, we're going to charge you $61 for the first year, and then we're going to double that to 122, and then we're going to double that to 244. And as long as you keep it, we're just going to keep raising the price until you decide to go get Windows 11, right? They're not telling you have to get it. You have a choice as a consumer that you don't have to get it, but you have to get it, right? Because if you all your stuff that's on your computer, all your passwords, all your programs, all the stuff that's you are relying on now, right? Now they're making you get the other one, and if you don't get it, well, then you have to pay a premium price, right? Make the problem, sell the solution. This is how businesses are run. This is not just Microsoft for the Microsoft Windows aspect. This is for video games. This is for movies. This is for books and TV shows. This is for subscription models. This is for everything. Make the problem, sell the solution, right? If you make a video game where it's really grindy, and if you don't like the grind, we'll let you pay for it, right? We'll let you pay to skip that, right? If you have a Windows program that you want to use, you don't have to get rid of it, but your thing is going to cost triple the price in 2 years, so you might want to switch now, right? So this is always bullshit to me, but this is exactly it's not a Microsoft thing. This is a company. This is how companies make businesses, right? Netflix, you don't have to pay the upgraded Netflix, but if you want the exact same thing that you were paying for that was cheaper, well, it's not going to work anymore. Or you want to pay for 4K, let's say that it's downgraded quality, but if you want to get the upgraded one, we'll sell it to you for a higher price, and then when you get it for the higher price, you still don't have the full quality, right? This is exactly how all companies work. It pisses me off. Now, obviously, this is for businesses, but that's where they start, right? They go with the businesses first, and then they'll hit the consumer individuals later. So let me know what you think about this, right? Do you think that, obviously, you might not be affected by this? You might be a Mac guy. You might be a Linux person. You don't really care. But the fact that the company can do this, and like, what's the reasoning behind, okay, $61. Okay, let's just say it was $61. You're like, all right, cool. I'll pay the $61 to keep my old stuff on this thing because I like Windows 10. But then next year it doubles to 122. Why? And then the year after that it doubles again to 244. Why? It's like, this is just like the microtransactions. Well, this is $10, but today it's on sale. It used to be $24. It's like, you make the price as you go. Why are we raising the price? Does it cost more money the year after to hold that on servers? No, you're just trying to force people to go through, which kind of looks kind of weird, doesn't it? Like, why do you want me to get onto Windows 11 so bad where the other ones in the past weren't like this? Because they want to control you. They want to do different things. They want to make sure that you're doing exactly, because they're like, well, only 27% are using Windows 11. Well, how are we going to track everybody if all the people over there are using the old Windows that we didn't have that in there? Well, we're just going to have to raise the price incrementally every year until everyone moves over, and then voila. And then we can have an article that says, oh, everyone's moving over to Windows 11. Everyone loves Windows 11, right? It's just really pisses me off, especially for just the situation of raising the price every single year for the exact same software that you've been using for free, right? For zero. You paid for it. It's on your computer. Now you got to pay $61 for that 1 year. Then you got to pay $122 for the next year. Then you got to pay $244 for the following year. This is just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, and subscribe. As always, if you like what we do here, check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. Yeah, they condition you. It's bullshit, right? It's fucking bullshit. For no other apparent reason. It's $61 now, and then on top of that, it's then $122. You don't have to pay for Windows again. You just have to buy a new Microsoft OS computer, preferably from Microsoft. Exactly, Argus, right? It's like, my system, I can't actually upgrade. My system I bought back in 2017. I think it was 2016, 2017, right? I don't meet the requirements. So I have to buy a brand new computer. It's a scummy thing to do. What's going on, Dolphin? This has got to be a joke. Subscription of Microsoft Office, now Windows. I can't. My laptop doesn't meet the requirements for Windows 11. I'm expecting a free upgrade. Right, Jax. Right? But no, you don't get a free upgrade. You get to pay $61, and you get to pay $122, and you get to pay... Now, obviously, it's talking about businesses. But obviously, if they do it for them, they're going to do it to us as well. right? Isn't this a tax write-off for most businesses? Sure. But the point of it, though, Dolphin, is that why? What is the incremental increase for the price? Because they're trying to force you to get something that you don't need, right? They're trying to force you to get something you don't need. Your computer runs fine the way it is, and they're like, well, no one's leaving, right? It's almost what Apple, it's not almost, it is exactly what Apple did, right? Apple would make your battery start to fail, and this was in court. They did this. They know they've done this, okay? They purposely make your old cell phone look like it's breaking or not working correctly. Why? So you can get the next iPhone, okay? They do this on purpose because they make it where they're like, oh, yeah, we've made a product, but our product's really good, and more people are not coming over, so we're going to have to drain the battery. We're going to have to make it look like it runs shittier. Everyone's like, oh, something's wrong with my phone. Well, you're just going to have to go get a new phone. Sure, Jones. Sure, but that's the cause of effect, right? They tell you, well, if you want this to keep up, then you got to pay $61. And if you don't want to move over to the next one, because if you get Windows 11, you don't got to pay that $61. And if you're so hard bent on staying on that old software, then you got to pay $122 the following year. And if you're still hell bent on on moving over, you got to pay $244. iPhones are not good products. But here's the thing. I have an iPhone, right? Argus, I have an iPhone. And the problem is that I'm dependent on it because I have all my pictures. I have all my information. I have all that stuff on that phone, right? Not only am I attached to it, but then like my mother, right? To make her move over to a different phone and then try to teach her how to use that phone, where right now it's like super simple, right? If I make a phone call to her or make a video chat with her or send her pictures and stuff, it's easy to share. Sarge is on the other phone, right? He's on the Android phone. And sometimes my texts don't go through. Sometimes I can't. My nephew can't call him on his phone through an iPhone to iPhone, right? Right? They make it inconvenient, and then when you try to leave to go to the other one, it's such a hard transition to do. You're like, screw it, I don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to stay where I am, right? That's the problem. And they know they have you. It's the sunk cost, okay, into if it's your time, if it's your information, if it's the money that you've spent, they have you by the balls. You can't do that. Lawsuits will be coming. No, you can do that, Sarge. That's why they're putting it underneath the security of it, right? They're like, well, we're just charging a fee for it. We have a product. If you don't want to pay for it, you can just move over to the 11. But if you want to keep this old one, the servers cost money, just the time and stuff. This is exactly why they proposition it the way they is. I worked for Apple back in the day. I loved working for the company. It was a great company. This is when Steve Jobs was alive. When Steve Jobs died, Apple went to hell. Okay. Right? They're just a husk of what Apple. And they force you to go to Apple repair bars where they charge you more money to fix it and then buy a whole new one, or be able to save your data or photos after fixing it. Right. I know. I was an Apple genius. Okay. You have to get the plan, and if you don't get the plan, then they charge you for more stuff. I'll be honest though, for most times when I have to go to the Genius Bar, they usually don't charge me anything for like simple fixes and stuff, right? But for the most part, my computer that I had, it was a factory defect. They didn't help me at all. It pissed me off, right? But it's not just that. It's not just Apple. It's all just technology together. Remember, all technology works together. They all work together in the industry to force you one way or the other. They need each other so they can promote, oh, you want the best iPhone? Oh, you want the best Google Android phone? And then it's back and forth, back and forth. Right. It's easier just to buy a new phone. It's easier to buy a new computer. It's easier to just switch over to right? You don't have to deal with this. You don't have to pay the $61, $122, $244. You could just buy the new computer, right? It's easier said than done, isn't it? Apple computers cost an arm and a leg. Yes, they are. But at the same time, let me tell you something. I had 0 issues. Now, again, this is before Steve Jobs died. Okay? When Steve Jobs was alive, I never had an issue with my computers. And if I had an issue with my computer, Apple took care of it. Okay? Because of the premium price you were paying, everything was good. You didn't have to get the insurance policy and stuff like that. You could come in with a broken screen and they would fix it for you. Okay? And they would do a lot of stuff. They would bend over backwards to help you. Once Steve Jobs died, everything became a tick. Oh, well, this costs this costs that costs this. You can't do this. You're just gonna, it's just easier if you buy a new one, right? And then people are like, just conditioned. So now if there's something wrong with your phone, you're like, yeah, it's 2 years old. I just got to get a new phone. Right? I've had massive issues with Windows computers, right? With just regular PCs over viruses and all this other stuff. There was no viruses back in the... There were, but it was much harder and less people had viruses on Apple computers in the past. Now I'm not too sure. I haven't used an Apple computer in like 6 years. But there was much less problems. But there was also less... And again, I was in the movie industry and editing and stuff like that. So there was less games and stuff on Mac. It was really hard to find games and stuff. So if you were a gamer, you really didn't have a lot to game. There was a gaming section and stuff like that, but it wasn't anywhere near, okay? Unless you double booted, right? Unless you had Windows running on your Apple and stuff like that. Yeah, Apple designed their business now specifically around trapping their customers base. So there is almost no way for you to leave them. Well, doesn't that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound like just like what the streaming services are doing? Doesn't that sound like just exactly like what Xbox Game Pass is, or PlayStation Plus is, or EA Plus, or Ubisoft Plus, and all these other things, right? Still hard to get games on them. Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know if it's still hard. I'm assuming it is. But there's a lot more games on Apple now than there was in the past. That's for sure. Come on, Dave. I just upgraded an iPhone 15, and it makes me better off, especially since I have AppleCare. iPhone 6, it turns out, has hardware malfunctions, lower battery life, slow UI refreshes and updates. You know they do that on purpose, right, Dave? There was an article years ago showing that Apple literally stops the phones from doing that. They slow them down and they kill the battery life on purpose. It's like a kill switch. Massive snowstorm here. Might disappear a power outage. Oh, I hope that doesn't happen, Stel. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Ron says Apple Arcade is surprisingly a good gaming experience. Well, yeah, because they want that. They want that. They're the leader of the market of Apple of games on mobile phones right now. I think it's like 6%, 9%, or something like that. And they're the leaders. So I don't know. I bring that up just to show people, because I know a lot of people don't look at the news or follow things, and hopefully I read something to you to give you kind of awareness of what's going on. So if you are a Windows user and you haven't switched over, if you're looking, this is just another reason to kind of, right, make the problem sell the solution, right? Unfortunately, Saint says, unfortunately, my old iPhone works better than my my work phone, Android, and it's a Samsung. What do you mean it works better? Like, better reception? Better... doesn't glitch out? Like, what's the difference of it? I heard Apple is getting sued for the green message things. The green message things. The hell does that mean, Dolphin? What does that mean? Okay, the DOJ says green bubbles are tied to anti-competitive behavior. U.S. authorities claim that Apple deliberately makes texting on iMessage frustrating for Android users in an effort to nudge people to buy iPhones. Apple denies this claim. Well, I think that's a little ridiculous. I have to say that's a little ridiculous. That's just branding, isn't it? Wouldn't that be just branding? That, you know, if someone texts you and it has a green bubble, then you know what I mean? Like if I text somebody through Apple, right? Like for instance, when I text Sarge, it's green. But if I text my mom or my wife, it's blue, right? No, that is true. I just read that. That's from Green Bubbles shaming at play of DOJ's suit against Apple. Yeah, and that's as recent as March 28th, 2024. Let me see what this says. That's funny. Yeah, they're literally putting it into the... Here's the thing with stuff like that, right? There's companies that literally are like, yeah, we could sue for anything, right? They have their colors differentiated, the QE keyboard. They literally trying to sue them as part of the thing. It's not the only thing, but yeah, they're using it part of the claim. Text bubble inclusion. Oh my god. Also, Hellblade 2. Yeah, we're going to talk about that, Dave. We have an article about that as well. I hate Apple products, so I don't keep up with them. Android is so much better. I love the customization. You can customize on all with the Apple. I honestly don't care. Like I said, I'm so baked into... I used to be all Apple. Because I worked for the company, I used to be all Apple, right? Even my email address is at mac.com, right? That's how baked in I am with Mac. Okay. I'm not a lover of Mac. When I worked for the company and that was my email. And then when I was working with the phone, right, Android wasn't as big as it was, right? And my mom had a separate phone. And every time she had a problem, I was like, I don't know how to help you because you're on a separate phone than me. Okay. So she finally got, Apple devices, and she liked it a lot better because it was easier for them to use. And it was easier for me to help her with this type of stuff, right? Because how many times do you have a parent that's like, I can't find the thing. You're like, well, just go to the upper right-hand corner and do this. And they're like, it's not there. You're like, it has to be there. It has to be there because I'm on the same phone. It's in the same spot. It's not there. Like that stuff still happens, but it's like user error most of the time. But you can actually help them, right? Instead of just going, I can't help you. People feel excluded and shamed. Oh, for God's sakes. Then people need to start suing for all cars should look the same then, right? All cars should look the same. Like if you're driving a Ford and I'm driving a Chevy or you're driving a Tesla, all cars should look the same. So all manufacturers should look the same because you don't want to shame, like get the fuck out of here, right? You're shaming me because I drive a Honda or drive a Toyota or I shame it. These are status symbols. All of these things are status symbols, right? If someone drives a Ferrari or a Porsche, a Lamborghini Diablo, whatever, right? These are status symbols. That's what it is. You know if someone has money or doesn't have money, what they wear, what they drive, where they live, what part of town they live in. So we're so hard bent. We're like, oh God, they're shaming me because I have the blue bubble, not the green bubble. Car colors are now woke. Are they suing over picture quality? Because that is real. No, it's part of that. It just says here that it's part of why they're suing is the green bubbles. I'm trying to look at... I don't really want to go down the rabbit hole of why they're fucking suing because I honestly don't give a shit. it doesn't look like... It says, DOJ says green bubbles are tied to anti-competitive behavior. U.S. authorities claim that Apple deliberately makes texting on iMessage frustrating for Android users in an effort to nudge people to buy Apple devices. It denies this claim. The suit cited to internal Apple emails showing that the top executives of the company knew that allowing the seamless texting and competing devices might make consumers turn away from iPhones. Unnamed senior vice president of software... Where the fuck did that go? Of software engineering at Apple wrote in 2013 email that allowing iMessage features to work on iPhone and non-Apple phones alike would simply serve to remove an obstacle to iPhone families giving their kids Android phones, according to the government's lawsuit. Another Apple executive, according to the Justice Department, wrote that moving iMessage to Android will hurt us more than help us. Okay, this led to Justice Department to allege that Apple affirmatively underlines the quality of rival smartphones, states the suit, which adds to the popular of iPhones was fueled not just by quality of the product, but also because it made communicating with other smartphones worse. I mean, I could tell you, when I text somebody that's not on an iPhone, it is a worse experience. Sometimes my texts don't even go through. Right? Every time I get a picture or video from Apple users, this shit is degraded? Really? I've never heard that before, Jones. Can't nudge folks to buy your product? I mean, you can nudge people, not in that context, Saint. I agree with you 100%. Other than you can nudge somebody going, like, this is not Fortnite with, like, skins. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you have a green text box and not a blue? Bro, I can't talk to you, right? I don't think you can nudge people that way, but you can nudge people with advertisements and marketing and stuff like that. You can 100% nudge people that direction. iPhones as well as where you can get stuff on them. I want to see more this year. Just needs to sell them an app. Right. Well, if you want the blue bubble, you're gonna have to pay for the Apple app, which is $9.99. You too can look like you're on an iPhone. Ford says, hilarious. Companies cannot have their own technology anymore these days. I'm all for things working together and pursuing the next messages is dumb. Well, it's funny that you say that, right? Because if you look at what Microsoft is doing, as far as making Game Pass and working on all, like, they want games to work on all platforms, right? Because of the generation that we're in now and people that are more conditioned that I just want to turn on and watch this or get this app over here. You know what I mean? Like, before we had cable companies and stuff like that. Now you have streaming services, but now you want that streaming things to work on all your devices, make it more convenient for... Once you open Pandora's box... Right? Everybody wants all that stuff. They're like, well, this company does it. I get all this stuff over here, so why can't this happen, right? And it starts to overflow. People suing for anything, every goddamn thing now? Oh, absolutely. Right. Right. It's exactly right, Saint. It's a kit car. You have a kit car and you feel like you have a Lamborghini or a 1967 Shelby Cobra, but people know. They're like, yeah, it's a kit. It's a kit. In your head, you think you're fooling everybody, but the people that actually know, they're like, yeah, that's a kit car. They know. They know. You get much less functionality for more restrictions that aren't optional. So if you use your phone and you're just basic phone things, sure, iPhone is okay, phone, but still, have to look down on you for using it. Oh well. Oh well. All right, let's go to the next story. The next story. This article was written by Destin Laguirre, I believe. Yes. Okay, it says Xbox isn't the only one rethinking console exclusives. Okay, if you guys like what I do here, I do this Monday through Thursday. We just have a conversation, have talking points. I go back and forth with chat. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. We do live shows, we do uploads, we do gameplay, we do podcasts, lots of different stuff on this channel. Yeah, you know what it is? Those of you with green names, I see more than the people without the green names, right? That's basically what it is. Which is totally false. I read all of chat. But that's basically what it is. I see you. Those of you with green bubbles, you're better. But this is more diverse and inclusive group. But the people with green names are better. So Xbox isn't the only one rethinking console exclusives. PlayStation and, the lesser extent, Nintendo are thinking beyond hardware. Okay, so in 2024, games are more expansive than ever. Okay, publishers are taking fewer risks and layoffs. Did I say expansive? Let me start over again. My brain's okay. Let me start over again. Our next story is Xbox isn't the only one rethinking console exclusives. PlayStation and, the lesser extent, Nintendo are thinking beyond hardware. Okay, in 2024, the games are more expensive than ever. Publishers are taking fewer risks and layoffs and rampant. As most of the front-facing and big three gaming exclusives, Xbox CEO Phil Spencer sat down with an interview to lament of the current state of video game space. How does the industry get back to growth? Was a responding question, and he left us with a recent interview with Polygon. Now, it's clear that the console sales aren't seeing the growth that even leaders is regarding would like. According to some people on the internet, console sales are better than ever, which is false, and the facts are not there. Okay, now PlayStation is porting games on PC via Steam, and Xbox is expanding its release strategy, including Steam, PlayStation, Nintendo. And it's also becoming clear that there's seemingly consensus between both PlayStation and Xbox, and the entire industry is going through a recalibration starting with console exclusives. Now, the recalibration has been accelerated things of massive waves of layoffs, and it's also rolled out the video game industry. We covered the impact of these layoffs, and has also those of created games before the thousands of applications flooded the inboxes and few companies looking to hire. It's likely many of these displaced will move into a new industry into the future, and the entire industry is resetting to the commercial reality of some companies realizing that they have overexpanded, become unfocused, and the strategies are becoming overstretched and financially. Piers Harding Rolls or Atmosphere Analytics tell IGN. Okay, so by now, widely known that the two primary culprits for the recent waves of layoffs of COVID is one of the, according to Michael Packner, okay, and also Dr. Surkana Toto, another wave hitting the industry. High interest rates, slow down growth, inflation, overall negativity sentiment are clearly weighing in on the gaming industry and gamers alike. Okay. As the results, Spencer says it's clear we'll be seeing a shift in the coming years away from the console exclusives and migrating the losses of revenue everyone hasn't been reporting. Now, we've talked about this, right? We've talked about this in the past with other developers, talking about how independent games are going to have a harder time getting onto Game Pass and all those type of things. Also, the bigger companies are running straight towards a wall. Graphically, fundamentally, the expenses of what the actual game costs, they said they're running full speed into a wall, and they can't stop, okay? Because each game has to get more expensive, and they have to figure out if they can't raise the price from 60 to 70 to 70 to 80, even though the games now are literally $100 plus, okay? Because if you want 3 days early access, here's the release date, but if you want the actual release date, you pay $30 extra more, right? If you want the actual game, yeah, there's microtransactions and skins and battle passes and all this other stuff inside there. So they've changed fundamentally what the game price is, and they can't keep this up. They have to try to lower the price. So the impact of revenue needed to break even is $300 million budget has been divisive consequently in forms of mass layoffs, okay? Which I think is funny because business people don't think about the future. They think about the now. So they're like, well, everyone really likes what's going on right now. We have a pandemic. People are buying video games. Let's hire. We won't worry about laying all these people off later and seeing what that means. We'll just make all the money we can, right? They don't care. Businesses don't care about you as a consumer, and they don't care about them as employees. They just use them and abuse them, tissue after tissue, right? Do the job that you get paid. Give us the stuff. They make massive profits, and they toss it out to you. And if you don't like buying their game, there's another person waiting there to buy the game, tissue, right? So the impact of the revenue, we already read that part. It says, I believe the industry is not done yet seeking layoffs. And also further bad news through 2024. The reply from the doctor, okay, Katana Games is also concerning predictions that provides more true and days pass in 2024. PlayStation and Xbox and EA have directly or drastically reduced their staff, making headlines at every major gaming publication. Embracers not only saw layoffs, but also stated or started spinning out their recent acquisitions like Gearbox to the new owners. Now, while Spencer is the latest in lament of negative impact of the budgets of layoffs and have the entire gaming industry, highlighting a risk of averse publishers marketing rising AAA game creation costs. At the flatlining console businesses, it's also clear to him that the things need to drastically change. PlayStation seems to agree as they slash console sales predictions from 2024 from 25 million to 21 million, and the highlighted plans to be more aggressive than PlayStation game releases on PC. All of this will affect the games industry as we know it, and more specifically for console businesses. Now, while PlayStation still champions the value exclusive releases on its consoles, they slowly but surely adopted the more aggressive PC release strategy as well. Its notable statement during the Sony's Q3 earnings, PlayStation CEO Hiroki Totoki, still the best name in video games, in the past, as well as you know, we wanted to be polarizing consoles, and the first-party titles main purpose was to make the consoles popular, and he also adds there's also a synergy to it. So if you have a strong first-party content, not only is your console, but also your gameplay and your computer's first-party content can grow with multiple platforms, and it can also help operating profit to improve. So that's another one that also make proactively working on. Well, here's another thing that PlayStation does, right? PlayStation likes to, they know their customers. They already know they have a diehard consumer base. Whoever, 25 million, 55 million people, whatever, that buy the console that they have. They know that they're willing to buy whatever they put out. Hence why they use a PSVR 2, and it only works with PlayStation. They're not looking for new people, right? They were just looking for the people that already bought, and they're like, well, these people, if they really like what we do, they're going to buy the PSVR 2. So they make a couple million sales there. Then they have the PlayStation Portal. Same thing with that. People that are buying that are only buying it because they have a PlayStation 5. So they're doubling down on the people that are already doing it because they know they can't get enough people to buy the rest of the PlayStation 5s. Okay? So they have to try to get double the amount of money from the people that are already into that ecosystem. Now, and only now, is Sony starting to make changes. Now, 4 years ago, before even the pandemic happened, I said that Sony's going to have to make changes going into the future. They're going to have to start releasing games on PC, which they've done, right? They're going to have to start doing streaming services, what they've done. Okay, they've done all of these things, and now they're getting multiplayer games or live service games, which they've done. Now they're trying to get the first day and date games, which will happen. You people that think that's not going to happen, single-player games will move over to PC day and date. Why? Because that's where the money is, okay? They're not going to wait 3 years afterwards because there might not be 3 years afterwards to get those consumers because the video game industry is moving. Like 2 days pass, another game comes out, and people are buying that game instead of the game that came out on Monday. It's now a game that came on Thursday, right? It's the latest, greatest thing. So PlayStation has been doubling down, tripling down on what they're trying to do, and they're trying to grow outside of just the oversaturation of the console area, right? They're trying to start get people over on PC. They're going to start trying to get people coming more and more. So it says, but this isn't the first, right? This isn't the first time PlayStation has brought up shifting perspectives on console exclusives. Head of PlayStation Studios Herman Holtz also discussed the importance of PC in May of 2023, calling a substantial part of PlayStation's business. Jim Ryan echoed those sentiments on the same calling, saying that our PC business is a significantly profit contributor. Now, Harding Roll's Atmosphere Analytics dives into a bit deeper, clearly that the backdrop is also contributing to the companies looking to streamline their operations, cut their costs, reduce the commercial risk, and cut investments. This is inevitable for the current climate and the irrelevant of all of the industry, okay? He continues by citing wage inflation is also increasing costs of the game design as reasons for many studios have to start looking into safest route forward, which also means that more risk-averse market for a few years once a big budget game getting canceled can lead to hundreds of layoffs according to the peers. Now, obviously, you want those AAA games, right? The AAA games prices are keep going up. And to get a AAA game and to also get a good game that's like, you know, what me and you look at and say, oh, this is a fantastic game. This is a 90 and above, right? I've said this in the past. I've said that Microsoft has decided that to keep costs down, they don't need to spend the money to get games in the 90s, right? They get games within the low 80s to high 80s, but they don't go to that 90% perspective. Okay, very few games will hit that upper echelon of 90 and above, which we look at as like that's a fantastic game. They go to that middle tier area where, let's say it costs $300 million to get above that 90 score. Okay, but you can get an 88 or an 89 and you can charge $150 million for that game instead of $300 million for that game. You see what I'm saying? Where they keep the risk low for the amount of employees and the amount of time that gets put in that game. And on top of that, because Microsoft is doing Game Pass, they can't put $300 million into a game because they're not going to get that return back on an actual Game Pass. Because to have $300 million for a video game like Spider-Man, you have to sell 7 million copies. But if I have a game that's $150 million, okay, that's half the price. So you only need to sell 3.5 to 4 million copies. Okay, well, we can get the people that buy it ahead of time. You can get about 1 million to 2 million people, and that's half your halfway goal right there. And then the rest of it's going to get the Game Pass monthly subscription, which is much more cost effective. Okay, for games, for Game Pass and for Microsoft. Okay, so it says all these changes will change with the reshape of the industry, and the game will also play for years and to come. Now, gamers want more access to more places. Both Xbox and PlayStation are ready to appease the request to meet the ballooning budgets, okay, in different ways. For Xbox, it's releasing former console exclusives on rival hardware, and while PlayStation is ramping up its PC porting business, that could also mean fewer console exclusives as hardware sales forecasts are reduced, but more ways to play the games we love. He says, quote, while pure console exclusives still go some way towards the driving console sales, more and more for Nintendo that others, it also becomes clear that games now expect to be able to play games and a variety of devices. Now, Daniel Nikos, Director of Research and Insight, tells us that even in Japan, where the console has traditionally been dominated for 41% of gamers played a console game in the past year, only 14% of gamers exclusively played a console according to 2023 survey of Japan gamers. Okay. As players are getting more access to more options and more plays, amazing news amazing news for customers. While porting the PC and mobile isn't a new strategy, it's happening at a much faster rate. It's also a drastic impact on the console market and also has consumer games in future. Console platform holders also embrace the broader strategy over the past few years and will continue to do so with the aim to research or reaching gamers on a non-console platform. Okay, Ahmed tells IGN. It says, in a recent comments from Phil Spencer seem to indicate incredibly aggressive approach with this respect. Rumors are swirling that Xbox handheld will be more open to services like Epic Games having to place on it, and also hopefully services like Steam, a strategy that aims to tear down the walled garden approach to the industry as used to the console business over years. I'm not into this. Like, I'm not saying they're not doing it. I think if Xbox does a mobile market where it's like a Switch, like the next console is this mobile market, I think that's dumb for Microsoft. I do. Because they have to come out swinging. They have to come out with a handheld that's so goddamn good, okay, that it would have to compete with the Steam Deck. It would have to compete with the Switch or Switch 2, whatever they're doing. Where I think Microsoft, where they're selling less consoles and being more proactive towards Game Pass and getting on PC and being on other platforms, why would they invest money into a handheld device where they can just use the handheld devices that are already out there and tap in with that with Game Pass and their other games? It makes no sense in my head why Microsoft would come out with a handheld. Now, obviously, they could come out with a handheld. They come out with other consoles that don't sell. I mean, Wii U came out for Nintendo, and that was a bomb. So I don't know if Microsoft comes out with a handheld, if it's going to be this latest, greatest thing. Because people are already giving shit to Microsoft because the S is holding back the X, and we'll talk about that with another story, right? So Harding Rolls adds that all console players now have strategies in place to reach broader audiences in the services. Games and IP, out there 3 companies, Microsoft has been the quickest and most effective involving its strategy, largely because it has more acute need to look for growth beyond the console businesses. Now, even Nintendo is branching away with a different way through theme parks and movies. Think of this way. You don't need to own a Nintendo Switch to go to Universal Studios and watch the upcoming Legend of Zelda live-action movie. At this point, Toto points out that the console sales have remained flat for everyone. Looking back at the last several years, it's easy to see that the Xbox and PlayStation console audience is not growing. The data backs it up. No consoles, not even the highly successful Nintendo Switch, has managed to surpass 155 million units, and the PlayStation 2 sold as of 2012. Okay, over 20 years, the closest was the Nintendo DS, which also capped at 154 million. This is what I've been saying for the longest time. Everyone's like, no, consoles are selling. I'm like, even if they sell 200 million, okay, that is a small portion of what the larger space of gaming, 3 billion gamers in the world on mobile devices, consoles, PCs, okay? And the console market is literally the best-selling console ever is 155 million, which is absolutely a pimple on a pimple's ass, okay, of what the broader audience is out there. So this is exactly why they're getting away. This is why Microsoft is moving away from just selling consoles, okay? Even if Nintendo Switch, at that every point as part of the success, seems to be gearing up for the successor, currently sitting at just shy of 140 million sold. Now, how will this impact you? If you poured a purported $300 million into developing Spider-Man 2, it makes sense to invest a comparable modest sum of the port and over on PC to address the bigger audience and drastically improving the bottom line. It's exactly right, right? If I have 55 million people on PlayStation, okay, and Spider-Man 3 comes out and it costs 350 million, I have to sell 7 million copies. I can't put all my eggs in one basket to be like, oh yeah, they're coming and they're going to sell all this on PlayStation 5. If I was Sony, you would be smart and say, yeah, we're making it for PlayStation 5 and PC day and date because we need to subsidize the cost. We have to separate that cost across all things. You can't just put all your eggs in one basket in this market, okay? Back in the day you could, but not in the market that we're in now, okay? It says the two main factors driving the expansion of PC and mobile, okay, the first opportunity in terms of audience size and players spending, especially in the Asian markets. There are these platforms that dominate. The second factor is AAA game development budgets have continued to grow over the past decade, which pushed many publishers to increase the price of console games from 60 to 70. Free-to-play games also need a large to engage an audience to succeed over the long term, which is also limited by capped console install base. Therefore, launching the games on PC or bringing the first-party IP to mobile is a way to address these points. Now, it says change to be scared for some, but some take the comfort in knowing that there's also still a massive drive of spending on the console, which seems to indicate that the console and hardware fans have nothing to worry about. A handheld strategy like this for Xbox is hinting at a sound one according to roles. Hardware-wise, they're also being the innovation that's also console market is recent years focused largely on handheld sector and expecting that to continue over the next few years. Okay, it says. And revenue-wise, there's also always the place of the console. Console represents the 1/3 of the total global spending on video game software and services, which shows the opportunity. It's less than 1/3, isn't it? The opportunity for console platform holders even expanding to mobile and PC, in fact. The contrast is even more pronounced in the Asia and MENA, where 90% of the players' spending is generated on non-console platforms. Okay, Ahmed tells us that the rollbacks him up, and none of the companies can afford to exist in the console market as platformer holder without significantly reducing the game's revenue, so expect them to all remain committed to the console market for years to come. I've said this before, I don't think they're getting rid of the console. They'll still have something, but they have to evolve what the console is. Hence why I think Xbox is going cloud. Hence why I think they're doing the dongle, because they got to get the cost down for the consoles, but they want more people to play their games in more places. Okay? It says, for today, however, one thing is clear, that change is coming. Change is here, and more games in more places, a better value for gamer is a huge win. Console exclusives may become less and less common, but it also means that the companies are going to create more options for you. And he says, I'm all in for it. Okay? As a gamer, I don't care, right? As a gamer, I don't care where I play the game. You make a good game, I'll buy your game. I'm interested in your game, I'll pick up the game. Doesn't matter if it's on PlayStation 5, right? Nothing has made me want to buy a PlayStation 5 for that particular game, especially now that I know that PlayStation games are coming to PC. And if I had a PlayStation before I had an Xbox, it'd be the exact same thing. If I had a PlayStation, didn't have an Xbox, and Xbox games were coming out, I wouldn't buy an Xbox because I know Xbox games are coming to PC. I also know they come to Game Pass, and I can play Game Pass on my PC. So it works both ways, okay? The one company that I need to buy is Nintendo. And Nintendo has it where they have such a fan base, and because you were a kid and the first console you probably played on was a Nintendo at some way, shape, or form, they have you because you like the IPs, you like the games, but also their games don't cost $350 million to make because they don't overspend. Nintendo's very smart on how they do the business, okay? Their graphics and stuff are not like God of War. It doesn't take them as long to make these games, and it doesn't cost as much to make the games that they're making. Okay, so when when games are taking their games and making television series, they're making movies now. Why do you think there's so many movie adaptations of or TV shows of video games now? Because they have to make the money somewhere. They're not making enough console sales, so they're starting to license off their material to make a God of War movie, to make the Last of Us TV series, to make the Spider-Man, right? Like, they have to make more movies. That's what Sony's doing. As a company, Sony's trying to make, more money in different places that pays and balances out their whole balance sheet. Microsoft's doing the same thing. You got the Halo series, you got the Fallout series, you got other games that are in the works like Gears of War. You have TV shows, you got movies, and then you got Game Pass, you have Windows. They have a much more broad area to make money for that company. Nintendo, same thing. Nintendo's got theme parks, okay? They got movies. Number 1 movie last year, or was it number 2? I think Barbie beat it, right? But they're coming out with a whole slew of movies now for Nintendo. TV shows, right? Toy lines, all of this stuff. Because it's not just about the video game market anymore, because the video games are not selling, or the console market, I should say, is not selling as well, okay? And it peaks at 155. The best console ever sold is PlayStation 2 at 155 million units. Yet there's 3 billion gamers out there, and that's what they're moving towards. These are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, and subscribe. Let me know what you think about this. Do you think this is the way it's going to go, where all companies just kind of just blend together? They're just going to be, you're going to turn on your TV at some point 10 years from now. You're going to have a PlayStation app, a Nintendo app, an Xbox app. Or do you think it's always going to be the way of old school? You got to buy a Nintendo system. You got to buy a PlayStation system. You got to buy an Xbox system. Let me know in the comment section down below. If you like what we do here, make sure you check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. All right, let me see what you guys are saying here. All right, Sol Margus says, if you're already beating them, they aren't playing with them anymore, and you're going to do any more to good if you didn't have them to begin with. Dave Cohn says, that's true. Things are grim in the game industry. That explains broken, buggy games because the game devs haven't had time to finish the games, and they say, don't worry, they'll be fixed. That's no excuse for it. What's going on, Kylo? This is why they're trying to make PSVR 2 compatible with PC, despite showing no signs of them being willing to do it at first. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. They did it because they can make more money off the same people that already bought the PlayStation 5, but there wasn't enough sales. And now they're like, well, we got to try to make more sales, so we got to go out to the PC market crowd. Consumers are waiting 3 years for almost any game, not even PlayStation exclusives. Well, you also have to remember, a lot of people, there's still a majority of people that still have a PlayStation 4, right? And didn't upgrade to a PlayStation 5, or still have an Xbox One and didn't upgrade to the Series S or X. That takes like 4 to 5 years into the life cycle of the console before people start buying it. Argus says, the conundrum of having to pay people a diversing livable wage. Companies have gotten used to making more and more money from these games while not increasing the pay of the employees, along with the rising cost of living, and they're willing to give up. Yeah, I saw an article today talking about if you're the average person in America, again, in America, a single person in America has to make $109,000 a year to live comfortably. Okay? If you are a person with no kids, you got to make 170 million, something like that. Right? If it's just 2 people. And then if you're 2 people with a family of 2 kids, you got to make over $209,000 a year to live with, comfortably, which is crazy. Dave Cohn says, games as service games were hit hard by COVID virus. Also, Jim Ryan screwed over the PlayStation brand. Percent of the profit margins also managed to get it. Putting the games on PlayStation could help raise the game's budgets. Xbox needed to go full third party. Yeah, and I think the people take it hard. People are taking the fans are taking it harder than the actual company. The company just wants to make money, right? The company wants to make money. Hence why they're putting Sea of Thieves and all the other games that are multiplayer on other consoles. The money is on third-party sales. Gabe Newell knows this. Right, Ray. Can we say this for a second? Steam doesn't sell a system. Now they do with Steam Deck, right? But before Steam Deck, there was a Steam Link or whatever, but they never made an actual console. You just download a program on the computer, and then you download your games off of the actual site. But yet Microsoft's trying to do the same thing, and people are like, "Oh, it's never going to work. It's never going to work." It's like, huh? What are we talking about? Most of these AAA games aren't even coming out good enough to even consider the bugs and the problem. Weren't as many employees as they have. Xbox expanding as a brand was the right, because the brand wouldn't be profitable, and Xbox has to have more highs than lows this console gen, and lows are mismanaged at Xbox in the game industry. Yeah, mismanagement's always a thing in every company. Let me see what you're saying here. Xbox changing leadership may have had help because they had people working on it, didn't know what they were doing. PS2 actually just got updated and made $160 million. Okay, great. It's still well off from $3 billion, isn't it? Why not have an Xbox handheld? Just don't make it useless. Why not have an Xbox handheld? Just don't make it useless. I just feel if they... Okay, Jones, let's look at it this way. Okay, let's look at it this way. Right now, you have the S and the X. We have a story coming up with Hellblade 2 only running at 30 frames per second. Okay? Everyone's already pissed off that the S is holding back games for the X. So what is the handheld going to do to change that scenario? Is everyone pissed off because you don't have mobile 30 frames per second? Do you know what I'm saying? Is the handheld going to be better and more powerful than the Series S and X? And if it is, are they not doing the partner thing where if it runs on the S, it has to run the same on the X, which has to run the same on the handheld? Are they not doing that? It seems pretty useless to me. If PlayStation didn't need PC sales, they absolutely would not put their stuff on PC or anywhere else. That's right. I'm still on PlayStation Pro. PlayStation didn't made any good exclusives, but there's also third-party deals for tempting me. For now, Xbox Series X is giving me value. The Steam Link was kind of bad, but the PlayStation TV was great. I wish Nintendo made a Nintendo TV. I could see PlayStation launching their own launcher. Sure, absolutely. Why wouldn't they? That's smarter than making a handheld. That was just Jim Ryan's mumbo jumbo. There's also the halfway on the way of Barbados. Not confirmed. How expensive would it be to have a handheld that actually runs the same power graphically fidelity as the Xbox Series X? Right, Mash? But even if it does the graphically fidelity of the Xbox Series X, it's still going to run the same games that runs on the S because it has to, because that's what Microsoft has baked into their system. Is it running at 30 frames per second? That's what they say in this article we're about to bring up, Mo. It'd be silly to make everything run at the handheld quality. You say that, but yet the S is the one holding back what the X is. Probably getting good quality using the cloud, and then less S quality using the handheld natively. I just think it's stupid to make a console that you would be hindering it because of the systems you already have in the market, right? But if they just run your game on the Steam Deck, then the Steam Deck can do whatever it needs to do because that's not their console. It's a third-party console. Do you know what I mean? To me, it would be smarter, instead of investing into the research and development of a handheld device with the Surface team or whatnot, and spend that money, it would be much more cost-effective to just get the games and stuff and put it where Steam Deck can run your games natively. Like put that on the GeForce Now. Put that on the what's the other the Rogue Ally or whatever it is, right? The ROG Ally, right? Put them on the, make your games run on their machines. They can't be that dumb. Okay, we'll see. I hope they do come out with a handheld. I hope they come out with a handheld and it does exactly what I'm saying right now. One of the main reasons Xbox is third. Yeah, but you know what? I'd rather be third than not existent. By that mentality, crowded, right? I should stop doing YouTube because I'm 619,000th, right? So I might as well not do it at all. They're still third because there's nobody else behind them. Okay? They're still making money. They're still profitable. They're still profitable. So to be like, well, they're still third. Yeah, they're always going to be third. You know why? Nintendo's first because Nintendo was here first. PlayStation's second because it came in second, right? And people can argue, well, no, PlayStation's better than Nintendo. Look at software sales and then get back to me. Okay? You got to take 3 franchises from Sony to equal 1 franchise from Nintendo. And there's 10 franchises in Nintendo that all hit 50 million, or I'm sorry, 30 million copies sold at full price. $16 gigabytes of RAM, but 4 of them are VRAM, so it actually has 12. Never say gaming company. Can't be that dumb. That's proven otherwise. Yeah, just never say never. That's my thing. Never say never, because it will always happen. 60 million Xboxes One sold are still 60 million. That's right. No, but they're not learning. If someone else comes along, they'll be fourth. Yeah, but if they're fourth, are they still profitable? Do you see what I'm saying? If they could put in, again, let me go back to the Game Pass or the Metacritic score. If I spend $300 million and that makes a game that's a 90, but I can get a 89 by spending $150 million, which more cost effective, right? Sure, my 89 is lower than 90, but I've also saved half the money, right? Which gives me more profit on the bottom line. So which one's better? Being number one, getting a 90 Metacritic score, but spending $300 million to sell 7 million copies, or spending half the amount of money and then also selling 6 million copies. I'll take the lower of the two at a cheaper price for more profit than to declare that I'm number one or whatever. You're for more handheld competition? How many handhelds are there right now? Oh, and me saying I'll take the cheaper price, that's me as the business owner, not the consumer, by the way. Okay? That's me from the corporate side, not the customer side. Altron says, I mean, think about it for 1 second. When a family has 3 children and they buy 3 Nintendo Switches for each son, imagine Xbox do the same thing, all playing 1 sub on Game Pass Family. Oh, you're saying, are you making the case that they'll go out and buy 3 handheld devices for the Microsoft handheld? Is that what you're saying, Altern? So should Xbox people be satisfied with the bronze, or should they push more to be the better? Do you understand that Xbox has been third place since they came into the market, right? You understand that, right? They've always been third place for 20 years. And did you have a problem buying Xbox before? No, you just bought the system and played the games. Who is this? What fan are you right now? Like, where are you trying to stand? Are you trying to say like you're a stockholder and you want them to be better? Because they're just one portion of their large business of Microsoft that has their foot in gaming and making billions of dollars, right? Like, you as a consumer, okay, no, 360 murdered. They sold 84 million. They sold 84 million, which I believe was still less. Let me check. Yeah, here you go. Here you go. They murdered. Yeah, they murdered 84 million. Xbox, where is it? The fuck did it go? Xbox 360, 84 million. Oh, look. PlayStation 3, the less popular one, sold 87 million. Oh, look. Nintendo DS, 154 million. That was their handheld at the time. Oh, and the Wii, 2006, 101 million. Let's see. First, second, third. Like, you guys can make up what you want, but Xbox has been third the entire time. I don't care, because I still buy the system and play the games. Yeah, but Don Major completely fucked up the growth potential. Did he? Right? Let's go back to Xbox One, 58 in 2013. Okay? The 3DS sold more than them. The PlayStation 4 sold more than that. Right? Let's go back to Xbox way back when. Let's go back to the original Xbox, 24 million. Okay, in 2001. GameCube just under. So they beat the GameCube that year, but it doesn't really matter because they also had the Game Boy Advance, which sold 81 million. Okay? Then you have the PlayStation 2 when Xbox, and they sold 155 million. Let's put that in perspective again. PlayStation, Game, or Nintendo, PlayStation, oh yeah, and Xbox, still third place. From birth, they've been last place in the 3-team race. Okay, they've been last place every single year they've come into the actual market. Yet people are like, oh yeah, they should really strive to do more. No, they're making billions of dollars in third place. They're okay where they're at because their cost is down and their profits are up. Nintendo and Sony are early established brands. Yeah, they've been around for literally... PlayStation was around for, what, 10 years? Before Xbox even got into the market, and Nintendo was around for 20 years before they got into the market? That's like me trying to get a web browser right now. Or, I'm sorry, a search engine. I'm going to start a new search engine. Do you think I'm going to overtake Google? No. But I could probably get a market share and get third place and make millions and billions of dollars. The reason Xbox almost died was Don Matrix also, sure, OG Xbox is still great, 6th-gen console. Third place also is successful, I think 8th place. You also know that PlayStation almost died too, right? You guys understand that PlayStation almost went bankrupt as well? And they had 155 million units sold. They had 85 or 87 million sold. The reason that Xbox, I already read that. The main that Xbox, even though I own an Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5, Switch, OLED, Steam Deck, Cloud PC, and I don't main Xbox or any console because exclusives, third party, are still king. So you don't think that Don had any effect on the company? I mean, if he did or didn't, it doesn't matter. They've been in third place since the beginning of it. So I could literally say, who was the first guy? Peter, right? What was his name? I forget the first guy. Or was it the second guy? I forget what the fuck it was, right? He could have screwed it up before the other guy got a hold of it. And the funny part is, all he did was he wanted to put a camera and make it a set-top box, and now that's exactly what it is. Peter Moore. Thank you, Jax. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't buy stuff because it's number 1 or number 2. I buy it because I like the product. Am I the only one? I buy products, right? Now, Xbox Series X hasn't lived up to the potential of what it was because they're still doing 30 frames per second. So let's go to the next story. Okay. I think this is stupid. Okay. I think it's stupid because I think that Xbox Series X should have different game modes because you paid for the bigger console, the more powerful console. So you should get better than what the Series S is. Okay. So this comes from Eurogamer. If you guys like what I do here, we have conversations, go back and forth of news stories. We do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning until noon Eastern. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. Okay. Hellblade 2 will be 30 frames per second only on Xbox consoles. Ninja Theory founder, okay, has left the studio as well. So Hellblade 2, the saga, will only run at 30 frames per second on Xbox Series X and S. The forthcoming game of the Ninja Theory has also been built exclusively for Xbox and PC using Unreal Engine 5, truly showing the power of the engine. Now, however, this comes at a cost. As German outlets GamePro has confirmed, the games only run at 30 frames per second on console with dynamic resolution. There's also no graphics mode, although the frame rate can be increased if you play on PC. Okay? So the game's visual effects director told GamePro that this offers cinematic experience. Also, the article writer noted that due to the slow-weighted gameplay, the lower frame rate wasn't an issue. Now, however, this also could be put off some players hoping to smoother experience. This allows followers of Bethesda Starfield, which also locked at 30 frames per second on console. It's unclear if you need to release on the lower powered Xbox Series S is a factor behind this decision. Well, they wouldn't admit that if it was. Okay. Yet Polygon has described Hellblade 2 as a tech showcase due to its use of Unreal Engine 5, as well as a completely motion cap animation for both performances and combat. The team visited the Iceland map, authentic landscapes, and built up props and costumes, and also scanned for hyper-realistic textures. The further news of Polygon noted that the absence of Ninja Theory founder and the Hellblade writer-director from the studio, also Xbox spokesperson, has since confirmed he's no longer working at the developer, with no further reasons given. Okay. It was also involved that Hellblade 2 during the early stages of development, though, is now being led by 3 creative leads: environment director Dan Atwell, visual effects director Mark Slater, and the audio director Dave Garcia. Okay, the release of Hellblade 2 was also announced in January during Microsoft's latest Xbox Developer Direct, and the game arrives on the 21st of May as a digital-only release across the Xbox Series X and S and PC, and will be available on Game Pass day 1. Okay, so I think this is stupid, right? And this is my personal thing, right? I don't even care about 30 frames per second. I'm a person that I really don't care about frame rate. I'm not a connoisseur of frame rate. Okay, I can play 30 frames. I don't get nauseous or sick when I play 30 frames or 60 frames. But as a customer of an Xbox Series X, okay, I would like my games to run at a higher frame rate because that's what you told me that the game console would do in the very beginning. Okay, now obviously I know it's up to the developer, and I understand that, you know, it could change each time and they can do an update, but I was told that my console ran 60 frames and 120 frames per second. Now, I know it's stupid on my part to assume that all games that are coming out that were made for this system would actually run at 60 frames to 120 frames per second. That's on me, right? Which is why I would never buy another Xbox at launch, because if they come out and tell me that the next thing is 2K or 4K or 8K at 60 frames and, right, uncapped frames, I'm going to sit and wait, just like I do for video games, and see what your thing actually does. Because shame on me, because I trusted you in thinking that my game system would run these 60 to 120 frames per second, okay? But obviously it's not, because it's linked to the Series S. And those of you out there that are like, oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to that handheld, if they got rid of the S, it will now be the new thing holding back the actual graphical stuff and whatnot, because that's what Xbox wants to do, okay? They want to link the parity thing with all the systems so it runs the same. And I think this is a stupid move on Xbox. If I spend half the price, okay, or a little bit less than half the price for an Xbox Series S and it runs 30 frames per second, cool, I'm okay with that. But if I pay $500 and I want that console, which is supposed to run at 60 frames to 120 frames per second, then it should run at 60 to 120 frames per second. I paid extra money for the box, but yet I'm getting the exact same experience for the shittier box. Make the problem, sell the solution. The solution is, now it's like, well, you don't really need an X. You could just get the S. And hell, you don't even need to get the S. You could just play it on the cloud. Okay? Give them $10, give them $12, give them $15. Get it on Game Pass. That's what they want you to do, right? Their literal business model is to, we don't care if you want to buy the system. We'll take the money from you. But what we really want you to do is go to Game Pass. We really want you to buy the monthly subscription. That's the Microsoft way. The Microsoft wants you to pay for 365. They want you to pay a monthly or yearly for Word or Excel or for security. They want you to pay for your operating system by month or the year. They want you to pay to play games for the month, per the year. This is what they want you to do. This is their game plan. This is their MO. Make the problem, sell the solution. To me, this is stupid. There should be a performance mode on the Xbox Series X. Hands down. Period. I paid extra money to get a better, more powerful box. It should run better on that box. These are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, and subscribe. What do you think? Are you mad? Are you upset? Do you not give a shit? Let me know in the comment section down below about the Xbox running, Xbox Series X only running at 30 frames per second with games that are coming out, with the newest game that's coming out in May with Hellblade 2. If you like what we do here, make sure you check out some of our other videos. Thanks for watching. All right, let's see here. Who cares? There's a game like this you won't even notice. I mean, again, I personally don't care about if it runs 30 or 60 frames, but I do care about my console that was told to me that it would run 60 to 120 frames per second. And it's not. Dave Rose says, yep. Dead on Arrival, Hellblade, honestly, is overrated. The first game, if you can call it a game, is shit controls and puzzles. I never played the first one. I wasn't going to play the second one. I'm just set for a standard of, if this is coming out as a first-party title, and it's at 30 frames per second, is there any hope for any other first-party title game coming out? This is a smaller game, by the way. This is a smaller game. Pride House says, it's a video game. Frame rate will always be an issue. In the past, all this slower games don't need high frame rate bullshit. What a damn lie. Dead on Arrival because of this. Let's see. I didn't buy a Series X for 30 frames per second. I feel like we're lied to. That's what I'm saying, Rowick. Right? I'm pretty sure. I would have to get my box. I don't have my box. But I'm pretty sure the box said. Let's see. Let's see. Now, 4K 120 frames per second. Series X. All right? Now, I know someone's going to come in and be like, well, it doesn't mean all games are going to run like that. Yeah, but you would assume, right? If it's going to be like that on the box, then that the new games, especially 4 years after the console came out, when the game first came out, when the console first came out, you're like, all right, the first games are not going to be like that. But surely year 3 and 4 games are start going to come out, right? Right? I feel like, what's that meme? Hold on. This meme right here. Can I not? No, that's the wrong one. It's like our games are going to run at 120 frames per second, right? Right, Phil? Right, Phil? Like, it's ridiculous. I think I'm in the wrong business. Maybe I should start a chocolate factory and then package each chocolate. Just put 0 calories irrespective of what calories are. Show me the game I need for Xbox Series X. Right. Rise Son of Rome used 110% of the Xbox One potential day one. There's no excuse. Don't worry, next gen standard will be 30 frames per second. Jones, I've talked about this. I literally said that games are not going to... The standard will be 30 frames, but higher graphical stuff, right? Better graphics, still 30 frames per second, especially since they want cloud gaming. And especially since they want cloud gaming. Xbox doesn't care about the console anymore. Right. Which is fine. Okay. If they just came out and they just made the one console, right? They just made the one console and they said, this is our console, this is the latest thing, does 30 to 60, whatever. You know, some games will do 30 to 60. Cool. But they literally came out and said, get the bigger box. It's gonna do 120 frames, 4K. No, that's 4K / 120 frames question mark is what that is. Maybe it's not entire industry changing. It's just Microsoft making changes to the Xbox model. The gaming industry is not following Xbox. You look at the Switch, right? Nintendo is also not going the high route of stuff either, right? They're behind graphically and frame rate wise. That's exactly right, Argus. Right? The 4K is a marketable thing, right? Everyone looks at it and goes, oh, 4K, I know 4K. 4K, I have a 4K TV. This is 4K, so that's 4K, and these will work, and I'm going to buy it. That's what they look at. Most people don't know frame rate. Notice the devs targeting 30, and the S is holding it back. Then why make the X? What's the X for? What's the difference between the X and the S if the frame rate's the same? Why not get rid of the S and then just get the X and shoot for 60? This goes back to the conversation of keep costs down, right? Now, I would love to interview someone because I don't know the difference between how much a game would cost at 60 frames per second and how much a game would cost at 30 frames per second. I would love to know the difference between making a game that's 10 hours long at 60 frames per second at 4K and a game that's running at 10 hours at 30 frames per second at 4K. I would love to know the price difference. Because I think that would answer our question, why they're going for 30 frames per second over 60 frames per second. I can't get interviews like that, Dolphin. A lot of developers or people that work in the industry don't want to talk because if they talk, then they can get blacklisted. You would have to find somebody. You would have to find somebody that doesn't work in the business anymore and that knows enough information that just doesn't care anymore. To be honest, though, 30, as a gamer, why would you even buy the S? Well, if I knew, Water, if I knew that the S was running the exact same type of stuff as the X, why would I buy the X for $200 more? You know what I mean? The only reason you would buy an S over an X is because if you're a gamer and you're in college or you're broke, where you have enough money where you're not dying and you're not eating ramen noodles, but you want to buy a game, but you don't want to spend $500, you would buy an S. That's why. You can't afford a PC, right? You can't afford a laptop, but you want a game, right? You're either gaming on your cell phone that you already have if you pay that, right? Or you're buying an S because it's cheaper. Altorn says, it might be due to the animations. When you create a game at 30 frames per second, animations must be made for 30 frames per second. If you scale up to 60 frames per second, you need to make sure the animations won't break. Sure. And that's why I want to know. I want to know the difference, what a game would cost with 60 frames, right, or 30 frames. I don't think you can simply price 30 versus 60, or like 4K 30 versus 1440 60. Sure, what you know what I'm saying though, Jones, right? For them to make a 60 FPS game, what would the cost go into to make it that? Is it worth the initial money to go in to make it 60 frames, or how much less does it cost to make it 30 frames per second? I'm just saying 30, 60. Obviously, with the 4K, whatever it is, I just want to know the price differentiate between the two. Right, Sarge like semantics, Jones. Why do I have a Series X? I bought the X waiting for games to come out that I could play at the higher frame rate, which the box said it would do. Okay? Okay, right now, here's a list of Xbox games with 120 frames per second. Okay. Okay. List of games that support 120 frames per second on the Xbox Series X/S. Okay. So Apex Legends, yes. Unknown on the S, all right, on the S. Plague Tale, yes, 1440p, S 1080p. Battle Chasers, Nightwear, yes and yes, right? It even runs 120 frames per second on the S. Okay? Battlefield 4, yes and yes. Battlefield Hardlines, yes and yes. Battlefield 1, yes and yes. Or I'm sorry, yes and no. Battlefield 5, yes and no. Borderlands 3, yes at 1080p. Okay? Call of Duty, Black Ops, Cold War, yes, at 1200p. Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, yes, dynamic, right? So there's games here, but how many of these games are brand new? Gears 5, yes, at 4K. Halo Infinite, yes, 1440. And you can also do 120 frames per second on the S at 1080p. Hellblade. Here's the best part. Okay? The first Hellblade. Okay? The first Hellblade. Isn't that the first Hellblade? Runs at 4K, runs at 120 frames per second at 1080p. Great. I'll go back and I'll play all the Marvel Lego games because that's what they run. Right? All of these games are backwards compatible and stuff. Ori. Hey, Overwatch 2. Fantastic. Psychonauts. Okay. Sea of Thieves, but at 1080p. Maybe that's why I like playing on... There you go, Sarge. That's why we have it. Playing at 120 frames per second, Battlefront 2. Totally worth to have it in the console for a 7-year-old game. What's Travis saying? I've seen a game running at 30 on PlayStation 4, same game at 60 on PlayStation 5. It looks exactly the same. That's not true, Travis. That's not true. You must be playing on a different monitor or television set. You would 100% be able to tell the difference. Now, there's a difference between not caring and not seeing, right? Because you could see it, but you might not care, right? I can play at 30 frames per second. I can play at 60 frames per second. I can play at 120 frames per second. I don't get nauseous or sick if I go from one to the other. Some people do. I'm playing on my TV and it looks the same at 30. Well, then you have to get your eyes checked or something. I don't know what to tell you, Travis. There's a 100% difference. I'm going to add a different 0 on there. It's 1,000% different. Absolutely, House. And but my point by saying is I don't care, meaning like if a game comes out at 30 frames per second, you could tell, and I'm just like, you know what it is? It is what it is. Obviously, I want it to be higher frame rate because it looks beautiful. It looks crazy good when you're running at a higher frame rate and graphically. Jax says Hellblade 1 was made on Unreal Engine 4. So is the engine the problem, Jax? We now can no longer get 60 frames or 120 frames per second because it's on Unreal Engine 5? What happens when another game comes out? It's Unreal Engine 5 and it runs at 120 frames per second. No, it's not even that, though, Travis. You can tell when a game is running at 60 frames or 30 frames. And again, you might not care, and that's why you're not noticing it. But there's a definite difference. Like, can you tell the difference? Can you tell the difference? I hope you can tell the difference. There's people right now freaking out watching this. They're like, "Ah, my eyes!" Like, if you can't tell the difference, I don't know what to tell you. There's a huge difference. Here, let's go with this, right? I don't know why they're fucking zoomed in so much. It's all pixelated anyway, but let's find one that's actually good. Here, 3060. Look at the difference. Look at it. Right? We're not looking at graphics here. We're looking at the actual animation. Look at it. See, this hurts my eyes when you see it next to the other one. If you don't see slight difference, Travis, right? If you don't look at it and you're just playing 30 frames per second, you'll never be able to tell. But when you look at it compared back and forth to each other, right next to each other, look at the difference. Us hardcore gamers live in a bubble? That's not about living in a bubble, Makoki. Like, you can see the difference in 3060. And again, I don't care. It doesn't affect me. Okay? It doesn't affect me. I can play games at 30 frames per second. I can play games at 60 frames per second. I can play at 120 frames per second. I don't get nauseous or sick, right? But to say that you do not see a difference between 30 and 60, like, is mind-boggling. I get it. If you're at home and you just playing your 30 frames per second game, you're like, it looks good. Right? You're never going to know the difference. Okay? But to say that there's no difference when you play 30 or 60, that's just absurd. Now on top of this, now add 4K, right? On top of the smoothness of it. And then add 120 frames per second on top of the 60, right? You ever have a car where you had a roll-up window, right? And then you had a power window? And you're like, there's no difference. I don't care about rolling up the window. But once you go to power windows, you never want to go back to a roll-down window, okay? Or I got no heated seats, and then I have heated seats. You're like, it's not a big deal. But once you have heated seats, you don't want to fucking go back to non-heated seats in the winter. Oh, I see it now. I had to update the settings on the stream. I made sure we're right now. Okay, now obviously my stream, we're running at 1440 60 on my screen. Some people get confused. Like, they're like, oh, I don't really see the difference, and they're looking at it visually. No, look at the frames. Look at the frames. Heated seats are stupid, says a man from Boynton Beach. I don't see a huge difference. There's a difference, but not huge. That's you just being stubborn. I'll be honest with you, Travis. There is a huge difference. Huge difference. Got all these things opened up. Hold on one second. Man, it's already... Jesus Christ, that time just flew by. Do I have time for... We did the Hellblade. Yeah, let's do this one next. All right, next story I want to talk about. Next story I want to talk about is Ubisoft Forward confirmed for June, the same week as Summer Game Fest. Now, Ubisoft Forward will return to Los Angeles this summer during the same week as Jeff Keighley's annual Summer Game Fest, and the company has revealed, more specifically, Ubisoft Forward will take place on Monday, June 10th. Now, while Ubisoft Forward, the Summer Game Fest, aren't technically connected by typically taking place during the same time frame as LA, it's this year, it's also no different, with the Summer Game Fest live stream set for June 7th. Now, with the invite-only media influencers event for hands-on gameplay with upcoming games set for June 8th through the 10th, it seems press influencers and fans will be capped off of the summer's gaming stream with Ubisoft, capped off with Ubisoft's Forward. Okay. As for what they expect, Ubisoft hasn't shared anything. However, with this slew of upcoming development games like Star Wars Outlaws, Assassin's Creed Codename Red, Assassin's Creed Codename Hex, X-Defiant, and The Division Heartlands, there's plenty he might see at this year's Ubisoft event. Only time will tell. In the meantime, okay, they said Assassin's Creed Codename Red and Codename Hex, and then check out the gameplay debut of Star Wars Outlaws. So the reason I'm bringing this up is there's been a lot of rumors or speculations as far as Star Wars Outlaws has already been rated in Korea and other places, right? I think there's like 4 places it's been had the rating already done. Okay, and we're coming up on May, and a lot of people are thinking speculative May 4th, but May 4th falls on a Saturday, so it would be very weird to drop Star Wars Outlaws on May 4th, which is a Saturday. Now they could do it early, okay, like a 3-day early access type of thing, which would then bring it to like that Wednesday before May the 4th, or that Tuesday. Now, I said that they would come out probably on May 7th or May 14th. Now, this is just my gut feeling is that I think we get in May or June, we do get Star Wars Outlaws. Now, there is some people talking about that it's definitely coming out in 2024. A lot of people are saying it's coming out in late 2024, but some people are saying that it's coming out much sooner rather than later. And that might mean that maybe it was coming out in November, now it's coming out in August. Maybe it's coming out in August, now it's moved up to May. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on saying that this game's coming out sooner rather than later. Now, I want to know what you guys think as far as, do you think they drop it? Because do they drop it before the next quarter ends? Okay, to give them a strong start of the year, because the fiscal year's done. It ended on March 31st, right? So now the next quarter starts, it's April, May, right? It's the start of 2025, I think, if I'm not mistaken, for the 2025 year, and it ends in March 31st of 2025. So do you think that they release this game in May, or do you think it's pushed to later in the year? That's basically what I would like to know. I think it's coming out in May. I do. I don't know why. I remember, and for some strange reason, I remember an article that was written way back when, about 1.5 years, right when the game got announced, and they talked about it. And they said that there was a March to May release window. I don't know where. I can't find the article. I tried to find it, but I remember it specifically. It said between March and May, right? And then I never saw it again. And everyone said, oh, it's coming out later in the year. And we had another article talking about it later in the year. But I remember for sure that it said March to May of the year. So we'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that Star Wars Outlaws, there's not any more news about it? Hopefully, I think we're going to get some news this week, next week, potentially, that actually says more, because I think they're going to have to start advertising and marketing it. But again, we haven't seen anything yet. So if it is coming out in May, we're in April right now. If it comes out in May, we're 1 month away, and I think that's way too soon. That's why I think like the end of May, maybe June, even though my gut says if they do around May 4th, it'd be the 7th or the 14th. But these are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Water says, no clue, just sounds good. 10/24/24. A good number. That's a good number. Right? What is there a Star Wars show coming out soon? I think Acolyte comes out, right? When does the Acolyte come out? Yeah, it has nothing to do with the game. But if Acolyte comes out, Star Wars advertises for Star Wars, right? Acolyte's in June. So maybe they announce it at this event, and then it comes out in June, maybe coinciding with it. Again, it doesn't have anything to do with the Acolyte, but at the same time, you know, when you watch a Star Wars show, you're more inclined to play Star Wars games, and vice versa. Star Wars games, you'll try to watch a Star Wars show. But again, these are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. I think it's getting delayed. You think what's getting delayed, the game or the show, Dave? I have a question though, Dave. How does it get delayed if we haven't heard a date? Rose says November for Outlaws. The rumor is, though, they said that it's coming out earlier than later. November's pretty late, because you usually don't release a game in December. No. I didn't say it's supposed to come out in May. I said there was an article, Dave, that a while back said between March and May, right? I'm saying that they should go around May 4th, right? But May 4th falls on a Saturday. So my guess that it would be out in May or beginning of June is my guess. There's no official release. There has not been official release of when this game comes out. Or what I should say is I don't see it coming out in May. Okay. Travis says, I think October. I think they announced May 4th. But I think it'll fall. The problem, though, even announcing it on May 4th, that's on a weekend. Shadow drops tomorrow. They could shadow drop it. They could shadow drop it on the during their event. That would be big. I doubt they do it, but that would be big. What happened to Skeleton Crew? They canceled a whole bunch of different projects, Travis. Maybe I almost choked, Reese. Maybe they'll shadow drop Beyond Good and Evil 2. Yeah, Skeleton Crew, I believe there's a bunch of stuff that just got canceled or delayed or pushed back. Is this true? Star Wars Skeleton Crew. It says TV series 2024. And then there was a trailer 3 weeks ago. But that looks like a made-up trailer. That's a made-up trailer. Yeah, that's a made-up trailer. Skeleton Crew is scheduled to release Disney Plus in 2024. But we have nothing about it. So in March of 2023, they revealed to have directed an episode each of the series the following month. So they've already filmed it. Jude Law revealed the cast in the lead role at the end of the month. In April of 2023, May of 2023 revealed that it would also appear in the series as a pirate. Filming 2 weeks early by September 22nd, or 2022, Manhattan Beach Studios, Los Angeles County, under the Working Grammar Rodeo. And then previously expected to begin early in June of 2022. Filming officially wrapped on January of 2023. So it's been done. It's been filmed and done since January of 2023. So it's been over a year since it's been done. And then here it says, Skeleton Crew is scheduled to release on Disney Plus in 2024 and will consist of 8 episodes. The series is previously announced on Star Wars Celebration of May of 2022 for releasing in 2023, which didn't happen. Expecting the series to release in November or December of that year. By late 2023, Skeleton Crew revealed to be releasing in 2024, and a filing for the first episode in the United States Copyright Office indicated approximate release of January of 2024, which they missed that as well. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with it. What's Skeleton Crew going to be about? Let's see here. Let's see. Skeleton Crew is an upcoming American sci-fi fiction series created by John Watts and Christopher Ford for streaming service Disney Plus. It's a part of Star Wars franchise, taking part in the same time frame as the series The Mandalorian. It's an interconnected spin-off after the events of the film of Return of the Jedi in 1983. Skeleton Crew tells a coming-of-age story about 4 children who make a discovery on their home planet to get lost in the galaxy and go on an adventure to get back home. Oh, it sounds like Goonies. Sounds like a skip. Travis, did you say Goonies except good? Did you just insult Goonies? Oh my goodness. I've never banned anyone before. Did we? I've never banned anyone before. I think this is it though. I think oh no. There was no kappa behind that thing. There's no kappa there. I'm literally debating if I should ban you. This should be it. This is it. Mo's like, oh my God. Ban him for 1 hour. You know, they just did a new thing. I can actually ban people for a time limit now. Like they just submitted this a couple weeks ago for me. Let's see. I can put timeout, and when I time out, I can put 10 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 24 hours. Yeah, I can do a 24-hour ban. Sarge did it. Oh my God. Sarge did it. I didn't do it, Travis. I didn't do it. I didn't do it, Travis. Sorry. I was wondering why Travis's thing disappeared for a second. I was like, wait a minute. EL says, the hell with freedom of speech. See what happens when you give power? You give power to Sarge. That's funny. It's all right. Travis will message me on Discord. All right, I'm going to watch this video. I don't know if I should watch it. Okay, I have a question. Okay. Do you want to watch the video? Okay, it's Asma. Morning, Super Dave. Asma Gold's responding to another streamer. Do you want to watch this video or do you want to watch the actual video? This is like Inception type stuff. This is a reaction to a video of a reaction of a reaction. Or do you want to watch just the main video and then react to that? Here, you know what? We can do we're starting a poll. Vote on it. Which one would you like to see? Well, it's close. 50-50. We got 38 people watching. We need at least 30 votes. Come on. Get in here and vote. What video you want to watch? Want to watch the main video or Asma's video video of the video? Take 5 seconds. Come back to your computer after listening to me in the background. Just hit the button real fast. Matter of fact, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go fill my drink. I'll be right back. Oh, for God's sakes. You guys are 15 votes. What the rest of you guys doing? We're going to run another poll. Do you like polls? It's a 50-50 split. Seriously? You sons of bitches. We ran a poll so we wouldn't have to make the decision. And now it's the same exact. You guys are terrible at games. Charades, 20 questions, and polling. Dear Lord. Robert Jones with the $2 super chat says original. You didn't have to tip for that. You could just push the button. I'm going to make a reaction video to then react to that one. Yeah, let's do it.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Original.
Larry's such a good person. He's making time for Travis Band to finish him so he can enjoy the show with chat. There you go. I'm confused, 30. Watching a video of someone watching a vid. Yeah, so there was the original video was someone sent me was Asmongold reacting to this, right? And we can react to just the regular video, or we can react to the guy talking and then also reacting to Asmongold reacting to it. So it's just having a little, right? I still can't believe it's tied 50-50, which is fucking hilarious. All right, we got one more minute. I said about 5 minutes. Tied right now. So I guess I should have just picked originally. This is what happens when you leave it to chat. Split 50-50. All right. That'll do it. We're going to close the poll. Closing the poll. All right, main we had 19 votes. Sad. 52 for the main. We'll watch the main because I was leaning more towards the main anyway, so all right. All right, so this is the largest campaign ever to stop publishers destroying video games. Okay. To stop watching video, or to stop publishing broken video games. All right, here we go. Or destroying video games. Sure, it's all good. Let me...
Hi, I'm Ross.
Hi, Ross.
I enjoy video games.
I also enjoy video games.
A lot of them. I also enjoy owning things. You know, like things in my hand or my immediate vicinity that I use frequently. When I walk down the street, I like how people don't usually run up to me and try to take the clothes off my back, because it's generally understood by society that those are mine and belong to me. But see, just by me saying those things, we already have a problem. Yeah, you can probably see where this is going.
Is he really in space?
The video game industry has a lot of problems. Like, a lot of problems.
He should be doing this.
I think regulators have no idea, actually. But there's one problem in particular I've been hating for decades, and it's getting worse and worse. And that is destroying video games so that no one can ever play them again. And I don't mean your brother sticking a disc in the microwave so that your copy is destroyed. I mean everyone's. There's a really specific way this happens. Just as a quick refresher, for most of gaming history, this hasn't been much of an issue. Most games contain the code that interfaces with the hardware and run the game, and that's the whole story. Now, for online multiplayer games, it's a little different, where a lot of the older ones will let players host the server that runs the game, then other people would connect to it, or sometimes give you the software to make that server a standalone thing and connect to that. But over time, more and more companies decided, hey, instead of letting the player host the game, what if we did it instead? Well, there are pros and cons to that, but that can be a valid approach. In theory. But here's the problem. The games industry has a horrible track record of maintaining its own games. There was a large study conducted last year that showed only 13% of published video games are still available by the publisher commercially. So what happens when the publisher takes over the responsibility of running the game? Well, it's usually pretty good while they support the game. Then when they stop, it's a complete nightmare, and it's responsible.
Yeah, the problem with this is like what you get with Battleborn. This is what you get with Marvel's Avengers. This is what you get with Star Wars Galaxies.
Well, for destroying more video games than any other practice. That's a big shift. Because the industry is trying to get users to go from a model where they get to keep their game, regardless of when support ends, to one where the game dies forever. I'm not a fan. For companies that do this...
Yeah, I mean, I hear what he's saying. Like, I want to. If it's a single player online game and they stop supporting it, and the online version is done, and they're no longer selling the game, then you should still be able to play that single player game. You should still be able to own your stuff that you bought on that game as well. In my opinion,
The number of games that survive in any form, forget being available commercially, is a lot worse than 13%. I did an informal investigation on it a few years ago and found it was closer to 3%. I think that number.
Games as a service shut down records. Out of 122 titles, games that provide customers a chance to continue using their product is 2.46%. Beyond Protocol, Glitch, and Scrolls. Games that offer full and unconditional refunds, 1.64%. Paragon and The Calling. Percentage of titles that also no way defraud the customer, 4.1%.
Number may have gotten even lower since I did that. From my perspective, this has felt like a slow-moving coup to take away ownership from more and more people over time. So video game publishers are making billions selling you a game as a good, not telling you how long it will last.
Right, they're not selling you. Right, they're not selling you. They're selling you a license, and they can tell you when it. And in small print, even if your game lasts for 6 months, if it doesn't sell well, they could stop. They could shut that server down right away.
Purposefully killing
Suicide Squad is on that list, in my opinion.
it later, so you're left with nothing, but then they get to keep your money. Now, don't confuse this with rentals. Rentals are sold as a service and tell you exactly how long they last. A customer who rents something is informed. Video game publishers don't.
Here's what I think. All right, here's what I think. I don't want to pause on his screen like that. I feel like if it's on Game Pass, if you're playing a game on Game Pass or PlayStation Plus and you're renting because you're paying for that streaming service, if they decide to not support the game anymore and they take it off of that service, you would lose. You couldn't play that game, right? It should be the exact same way, though. But if I buy that game, right, so I've rented it for a while on your service, I played it off your service, but now I want to keep it. I should be able to purchase that game, and if I keep that game, then I should own it for forever. And if you shut down the servers, I should be able to download it locally on a hard drive or something that I can play it if it's a single player.
Don't want that. Because they know if they put on the box exactly how long the game will last, then that will hurt sales a lot. So it's important to withhold that information from the customer.
Right. This game's only going to last a year. If that was on the box, sort of like 120 frames per second. If they put on the box that no game will hit 120 frames per second, would you buy that box? No. But them putting 120 frames per second on the box, you're like, it's not out at launch, but it'll be there later.
Customer. Because customers are used to video games lasting forever, more or less. You could have bought games from the 70s that still work today. You could have bought games from the 90s with online multiplayer that connect to the.
Are they withholding info or are they hopeful? I mean, they know when they're going to shut down the game, Saint, right? At some point, they know they're shutting down the game. Hence why Destiny says they're coming out and it's a 10-year game, right? They give you hope like, oh, it's 10 years. But that's only just right. It wasn't officially 10 years. It was more of a, well, we're doing it for 10 years. If it makes money, if not, then we stop.
The internet that still work today, even if the companies that made them no longer exist. But a lot of publishers like to place modern video games that are designed to die, but they won't tell you when, right alongside ones.
This will stop working after 1 year, but the buyer is not told this. This will work indefinitely. This will stop working 6 years, but buyer is not told this. This will work indefinitely. This will stop working after 7 years, but the buyer is not told this. However, the developer will end up fixing it to work indefinitely. There you go. This last one goes a long way. That
lasts forever, so they can try to cash in on customer confusion, because the average person believes they are buying something. Now, I personally hate this practice because art has innate value to me. And while it's debatable if video games are art,
no, they are art. 1,000%. Video games are art. Music is art. Movies is art. Art is art. Okay? Video games are a form of art.
They undeniably contain art. So seeing games destroyed to me is the same as if someone were to walk into an art museum and start torching the paintings. And it's insult to injury that companies that do this face no penalties. Nor is there a good reason for them doing it. I won't get into the details here, and you may hear excuses as to why companies have to destroy your games, even though they largely didn't used to do that, even for online multiplayer. But what I found is that the people saying that tend to either be uninformed or else incredibly unimaginative and can only see things one way.
When we order the pancakes, they're going to bring the maple syrup.
Maple syrup is supposed to be on the table before the pancakes.
Damn right it's supposed to be on the table. If it's a good restaurant and it's a good waitress or waiter, that syrup's on that table before you get your goddamn pancakes, not after.
Of course,
You shouldn't have to ask for the syrup.
when they bring the maple syrup after the pancakes, it'll definitely be too late.
How is that going to be too late, huh? Right?
Yeah, talking with people who defend this practice can feel a lot like that. I'm reminded of when Microsoft was sued by the Department of Justice for bundling Internet Explorer with Windows.
Sarge says on the fucking table. That's right. That's right.
And Microsoft claimed it was impossible to separate it from Windows 98, even though it wasn't even with Windows 95 when it launched. And through the power of hindsight, they actually did remove it from Windows years later. So it was possible earlier.
See what they're doing? Uninformedly, we had a story about Microsoft earlier charging for fucking things later, right? Which they don't really have to do, but they're doing. Okay, until people start pushing back on that, it'll probably get returned, or like backed up. But that's exactly right. They could have fixed it, but they didn't fix it until they could fix it.
It's possible in the future, but it's impossible right now because the company has spent a lot of time trying to make it difficult.
That's right. Make the problem, sell the solution until people push back. And when people push back, that's when things get changed.
That is such a good analogy for what is happening with games. You have no idea. Anyway, no matter how you look at it, this is such an obvious assault on consumer rights. And in any other industry, a company destroying what they sold you would be illegal. If only there was something we could do about this. Well, as it so happens, we have the best opportunity ever to take action on this. A few months ago, the company Ubisoft announced it was shutting down a game of this nature called The Crew. Now, The Crew, I think, is a flawed but
We played The Crew. El Dente, we played it. Remember that we raced across the United States? What crew was that? Which crew was that?
remarkable game.
Was that this crew?
But none of that matters here. What matters is it had at least 12 million players. So this affects a lot of people. And Ubisoft is headquartered in France. And France has some of the strongest consumer laws in the world. See, this isn't really about The Crew or even Ubisoft. It's about trying to find a weak link in the industry so governments can examine this practice to stop publishers from destroying our games. Outside of the United States,
Now, the real question is, he says our games, and I get where he's coming from, but are they our games? I mean, I agree with him. I think they're our games. You put a product out there, I buy that game, I should be able to play that game long after the game's not supported anymore, okay? But are they really our games?
practice is very hazy legally. Many governments don't even have laws regarding this. I'm not kidding. More on that later. If we can find even one major country to penalize this practice, that might fix everything. Because the thing about letting you keep your game is it's not that expensive for companies to do it.
No.
Especially if it's a known requirement from the beginning. Then it's almost negligible.
That's exactly right, Travis. That's exactly right.
So if a company knows they have to let you keep your game in one country, they may as well make it global policy because then they've already done the work. It really could take just one victory to end this. So even if you have no interest in the crew, if you just want to keep your games...
I'm sorry, but stop destroying our games sounds a little immature. I mean, you could just stop saying, stop destroying our games and just stop destroying games. Right? Because what he's talking about, yeah, he said, stop destroying our games. But what he wants is, he wants games to be, you know, where that you can keep playing them. There's like, it's like, you go to a museum, right? There's things there. It's not completely destroyed. You can go see history. You need to preserve video games, whatever that game is. There should be a place where you preserve video games. And if they shut down a game, there's no history of it. There's nothing there. You can't play it anymore. It doesn't exist.
Keep watching. There's more. Hearing about this shutdown has caused me to go on a research odyssey to see if I could find any possible way to get governments to
like if they're not selling the game anymore, right? If they're done selling Transformers Fall of Cybertron and they're not making it anymore, they don't want to support it anymore, well, then they wouldn't mind if people steal it then. Because it's not stealing anymore. Because they're not supporting it anymore. If they're not supporting it anymore, then they're not making money on it anymore. If they're not making money on it anymore, then it should be opened up to the public, right? So this is exactly what happened with Star Wars Galaxies. Star Wars Galaxies, Sony said, we're done supporting it. So the player base said, okay, we're going to keep it up, right? City of Heroes, we just read a story a couple months ago. City of Heroes finally got the A-OK from the actual people and said, yeah, you can run it, okay? We're giving you actual support. Okay, that you have the right to do this. If the company is done supporting that game because they're not making enough money off of it, then it done supporting, meaning put it out there and let it open up to the players and let the players then be able to play that game, right? Give it to them, hand it out to them, whatever. If you're done supporting it, then let us take it. We can put it up on our server. If someone loves that game, like Star Wars Galaxies, someone has a server that's running it, and they can do what they want with it. So arcades should be non-profit like museums and become one. Most arcades are like that now. You pay for time inside there, not for the actual game, right? You ever been to a pinball machine, like art or like museum? You're not paying quarters to put in the thing. The games are actually free, but the person has to make money, so you're paying for time in that space.
examine the legality of destroying your games. I have been waiting for an opportunity like this. This problem has been going on for decades, but it usually only affects a small minority of players that are too dispersed to do much. Most have moved on when a game is killed, and the industry has been counting on that left.
If they aren't selling it anymore, is it even stealing anymore? Technically, no, because they're not making profit, so it's not stealing. But 30, if gamers have access to the older, better games, how will they sell the newer, worse games? That's exactly right. Make the problem, right? If you can't play the old games, you got to get the new games.
Lethargy. So an event like this that's big enough,
unless they make the old games new again and then shit on those games and delist the other ones.
enough to do something is like the planet's
I'm looking at you, Classic Collection.
aligning. We have to take action on it. Now, I do not think I'm the ideal person to do this. I'm not a legal expert. I have limited reach. Honestly, everything about what I've been doing has been an amateur effort. I don't even want to be doing this. But if you care about this issue, I'm what you're stuck with. Because
That's true. There you go. If you cared about this or doesn't care about this, this is who you're stuck with because he's the only person doing this.
nobody else has stepped up. And I guess there is one thing that makes me a good candidate for this, and that at least with me, you're getting maximum hustle. I have decades worth of resentment on this issue. You know when a dog is eating and somebody yanks away its food bowl? Even nice dogs will get angry or even attack you. That's how I feel about the industry on this. Since I started this campaign, I've spent hundreds of hours on it, talked to multiple lawyers, worked with over 100 volunteers, sent hundreds and hundreds of emails trying to chase down every single lead I can find. I have been relentless on this. I've felt it too. In the game trailer for Yes, Your Grace, the king is hearing so many requests from his subjects that at one point he just keels over from it all. Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. And after months of research, yes, I have found ways we can do something.
Okay.
Not just long shots either, but really viable routes. I have found what I think are all the agencies worldwide best equipped to take action on this issue. I've also found dead ends. A lot of dead ends. In fact, I found so many that if I had known earlier what I know now, I could have saved myself at least a month's worth of work.
Yeah, but you wouldn't do that, right? Because you have to experience something to be better. Like hindsight's 20/20, but he learned so much along the way. So even if he knew what he knows now, then of course you wouldn't do it. But now you do, right? That's what life is.
Like I said, this is an amateur effort, so I'm trying to make up for that with even more hustle. And because I'm treating this like it's my only shot, because it probably is, I'm not stopping at the crew. Remember, the crew is just a means to an end.
Right.
Which is
so it's not about the crew, it's about the premise of what the crew is doing.
Stop companies from destroying your games. So rather than just getting the government to interpret the law, I figure why not go to the source while we're at it? So in addition to the consumer action, we're also pursuing government petitions. Now hold on, I know what some of you
We can tell it's an amateur effort, but who else is doing it? Right? Like, who else is doing it, though, Saint? So if he's not doing it, no one's doing it, so then nobody should do it? Nobody should care? You know what I mean?
are thinking, these are not normal petitions where you get a bunch of people to sign to show that people care and hope companies do the right thing. Come on, guys, give me more credit than that. No, these are government initiatives where if we pass a certain threshold, the government has to respond. It's the law.
He's doing exactly what Sarge has been talking about for years on GXG, right? On GXG, Sarge says we need protection, customer protection, okay? And rules have to be put in place. But nobody is doing it. Nobody's doing it. He's literally now putting stuff out there for petitions so the government has to, right? Because the government works for us. So he's trying to get stuff out there so rules change. Like, nobody should have a problem with what he's doing because he's working for us. Like, he's trying to make the gaming industry better for the consumers. So for anyone to kind of look at him and go, what a lost cause this is, that's just weird.
And for some of them are almost guaranteed to be debated.
Are you volunteering? Are you going to step up and help him out? Rough front man, that's all? Like, who do you want? You want Denzel Washington? Like, I don't understand. What do you mean? He's a rough front man. He's the only man. He's the only person that gives a shit.
Yeah, we'll see. But this is how a lot of laws get made. So what's in these petitions? Well, it varies for every country since they all have different rules, but they all share the same fundamentals. I tried to design the fairest proposals I could that still solve the problem. Yet remember that, naysayers, I'm trying to solve the problem. But I'm also trying to keep the scope as narrow as possible. I am not trying to reform the games industry.
Okay.
I am just trying to stop companies from destroying games that they've sold to you.
That seems pretty fair, doesn't it? Right? He's literally trying to make games that the companies take away from you. He's trying to stop that from happening.
That's it. So, with that in mind, while the game is being supported,
Right, what do the petitions do?
Absolutely nothing would happen. Companies could do whatever they wanted. We're going for a light touch. It's only once support ends that requirements would kick in. The first is any game sold.
Okay, so this is after support ends. That means they're done with the game. They're not supporting it anymore. Right? Right now, nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens. He wants games sold must be left in a functional state. I don't know what the hell that means. They're barely in a functional state when they come out.
Or licensed, for those of you who want to be pedantic, will be required to be left in a functional state when support ends. This does not mean a 100% perfect state, but it means a hell of a lot better than completely inoperable.
That's true. That's true. It's better than not using it at all.
It would also require no connection to the publisher or affiliated parties in order for it to continue functioning. So it would need to be patched to either be offline or have private hosting only.
I've said this in the past as well. I think if it's a single-player game, like, for instance, Bad Company 2, right? I still want to be able to play the single-player aspect of it, and if the multiplayer is done, then give me the bot mode of letting me play and stuff like that. Like, just something, right? If the online fails, sort of like Battleborn had a MOBA type of thing, but it also had a single-player campaign. I should still be able to play the single-player campaign of Battleborn.
It's the only way. Anything less and the game dies. And yes, this would include DRM that needs to connect to the internet. And because I'm being forced to go to all this trouble, I really want to end this. So this would also apply to games with...
City of Heroes is one of them, Paul. And Star Wars Galaxies is another one. I don't know if Star Wars Galaxies released the source code, but I know City of Heroes released the source code.
Microtransactions. Except we didn't say microtransactions since these were in plain English. So this would cover free-to-play games. Because if you've been sold something...
All right, hold on a second. Games that are sold must require no further connection to the publisher or affiliated parties to function. Another one is the above also applies to games that have sold microtransactions to customers. Okay, so he's talking about if you bought something from a free-to-play game. I'm assuming if you bought something from a microtransaction store after they stop supporting the game, you still have access to that digital good. Let me back up a little bit.
The games with microtransactions. Except we didn't say microtransactions since these were in plain English. So this would cover free-to-play games. Because if you've been sold something like a virtual horse, but then the publisher destroys the game, well, now you can't access your horse. I've been told undisturbed possession is a term for what I'm talking about here. And finally, these rules cannot be superseded by end-user license agreements.
The above cannot be superseded by the end-user license agreement. Right. Like all this stuff, but you sign at the very bottom, and it can't negate what we just did.
Since that's how companies have been getting away with highway robbery in the first place.
Yep.
Especially in the US. There's no point in having rights if you have to sign them away just to play a game. I'm sure a few of you right now are scoffing at this proposal, but just remember Internet Explorer, guys. It was impossible. And that's it, pretty much. Now, one thing we left off the table, but it's kind of an open secret we'd be willing to compromise on, or at least I would be if a company doesn't fix the game, but they give you all the information, tools, software, and so on so that a programmer could be reasonably expected to get it working again. Yeah, that's an acceptable substitute.
I don't know about that. Let me rewind that.
But they give you all the information, tools, software, and so on so that a programmer could be reasonably expected to get it working again.
I don't think they have to make it work again. I don't think that's... I disagree with it there. If the game is what it is, and as long as that when they stop supporting it, it doesn't just break, okay? Obviously, the code is there, all the stuff is there. I don't think they need to give the stuff up. Like Cities of Heroes, years after, it's like 8 years after, they finally said that here's the source code, you can actually do it, and they're okay with it, okay? I don't think they should be able to do that. I don't think you need their code or stuff like that. I think just the game should be in a working state afterwards. So, for instance, if I want to continue playing a game, I can play it. I don't need other stuff so other people can start working on it. If you, the person, want to start working on the game and it's your own passion project or you want to keep it running, then that's on you now. They shouldn't be held to standards where they have to give you this stuff so it's easier for you to keep it going. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, that's an acceptable substitute. Though the resentment some others had helping on this was strong, and they didn't trust companies not to abuse a provision like that. And they could be right, so we left it out of the proposals. We also left out this applying to all software and restricted it just to video games. Now don't get me wrong, I personally think all commercial software should have these provisions also. But this is already such an uphill battle that expanding the scope would invite many more enemies and weaken our odds. Remember, I am single issue. The point is,
for certain games, see, absolutely. If it's just an online game, it's just 100% online, you can't do anything about that, right? Unless they convert the game from being online and then all of a sudden like a Battle Royale game, right? If they shut it down and they release that game, then it would have to be all against all bots, right? You would never be able to play online again because they have to host it on the servers, right? Unless someone that takes it over wants to put it on a server and then and run it, and you're running it locally instead of. But yeah, if you're playing a game that's just all always online, then you can't do what he's asking. But games that are single player and playing like that, like Battleborn again, I bring it up. It's got a single player aspect to it, and then it's got a MOBA aspect to it. They shut down, but the whole game is gone, and I own the disc and I can't play it.
Even if you don't own the crew, you'll still be able to do something if you live in one of the countries where these petitions were launched. This is a multi-pronged attack. I have prongs for everyone. Well, no, but a lot of people. It's complicated. Remember a while back when there were so many versions of Watch Dogs for sale that somebody made a spreadsheet on how to buy the game?
Yeah, there's nothing confusing about that, right? Yeah, if you want to buy that standard edition or the gold edition or the season pass edition, that's real simple.
Game. It's not that bad, but it does have a lot of variables. What I've found is that what people can do varies on where they live and whether they own the crew or not. But even then, it can still be confusing. So I've seen it as a priority to make this as easy as possible for everyone. To that end, I've been working with volunteers to launch a website to do just that. StopKillingGames.com.
Okay.
I hope
It's original. It's original.
you can remember that name. It has the 2's there back to back. That might throw some people off. It's a multilingual website that can easily steer you exactly where you need to go to have maximum impact. Some people can do multiple things, so I even tried to prioritize your options a little bit. In fact, you can even just stop watching and go here if you want. There's nothing else you have to know that's not on the site. We have blazed
That's nice, right? So if you care about this, go there and you can sign the petition.
a trail for you.
The actual petition, not a social media petition where, oh, we have 10,000 people that sign this and it means absolutely nothing because no one has to care about it, right? This is an actual petition that's, if enough people sign it, it has to go in front of the government forces to try to enforce stuff now.
To hit back against the industry.
That's customer protection.
All you have to do is follow it. We've done all the hard parts for you. See, people can complain about the games industry, but the reality is,
Yeah, I'll have to link it into the
all
description
internet
afterwards.
comments are meaningless. None of your comments matter unless a government official is reading them. That's what this is. In fact, if you've gotten lost by
No, he's focused on the entire world. If you're listening to him, here I'll go back. He literally made it on this site, stopkillinggames.com. Okay,
for that name,
you can go in and
it has
pick the
two
language
Gs
and
there
everything.
back to back. That might
He's trying to. His whole thing is he's trying to get France. Okay, because there's a loophole right now. The Crew and France has the most strict rules for gaming. Okay. And he's trying to use the Crew and France to kind of break down the walls for the rest of the world.
might throw some people off. It's a multilingual website that can easily steer you exactly where you need to go to have maximum impact. Some people can do multiple things, so I even tried to prioritize your options a little bit. In fact, you can even just stop watching and go here if you want. There's nothing else you have to know that's not on the site. We have blazed a trail for you to hit back against the industry. All you have to do is follow it. We've done all the hard parts for you. See, people can complain about the games industry, but the reality is all internet comments are meaningless.
Yeah. You can leave all the comments you want and say what you want, but if you do nothing, it doesn't fucking matter.
None of your comments matter unless a government official is reading them. That's what this is.
How old is this video? This video is yesterday.
In fact, if you've gotten lost by anything I've said, here's all you need to remember. File complaints if you can, sign petitions if you can, get others to do 1 and 2. And you can do that at stopkillinggames.com. That's it. That's everything. You can tune everything else out like some sort of Zen master if you know those 3 things. But maybe you think I'm exaggerating what we can do. Well, why don't you judge for yourself? Since no one else has stepped up on this issue, I'm assuming command to play general on this attack. So, you want to see my battle plans? I'll show you my battle plans. This could take a little while. Okay, Future Ross here. Some bad news. Like I said, this is an amateur effort, so even though some of these petitions were submitted weeks ago, at the time of this recording, we're still waiting on all of them to open up for...
Well, of course you are. The government moves like a goddamn slug, right? So regardless of your amateur effort, even if you were a professional, that's not going to get you faster. The government gets to when the government gets.
signing. So here I am making a hype video to go send everybody to the right place, and they're still not ready yet. They haven't been rejected, we're just waiting on governments. So this is kind of a nightmare for me. Oh well, we're moving forward anyway. We do have links to where they're going to show up though, so that's something. Okay, battle plans. Now before we get into regions, the first option is war.
I mean, hell, I'm not even reaching out to the government. I send emails out for people to come on the podcast. It takes them a fucking forever to get back to me. You think the government's any faster?
Worldwide, and it's eligible for literally anyone who owned the Crew. Yeah, anyone. Aren't you glad I cleared up those dead ends? Although it does have a critical flaw that can't be avoided. See, the option for all owners of the game is to contact the DGCCRF, France's National Consumer Protection Agency.
Okay.
You go through this website here. They
Uh-oh. I have a feeling this is where everyone loses interest in what's going on here. Here's where everyone loses interest here. This is going to be way too much effort to get this going because gamers have an attention span of a goldfish.
Accept complaints worldwide, but there is a catch. The catch is they want everyone to contact Ubisoft first.
Okay.
So that means everyone is going to have to contact Ubisoft support, tell them to fix the game.
Okay.
Then, when Ubisoft refuses, or 2 weeks have passed, then you can contact France. This is a major setback.
So you have to go to Ubisoft's site first, then submit, and then wait 2 weeks, and then contact France.
Because gamers are not known for their long attention
Do you see how these companies do this? Because they know people are not going to go through all of this.
spans. So asking people to wait up to
Don't insult the goldfish. My attention retention is lesser. It actually is. We did this a long time ago. Goldfish have a attention span of like 4 seconds or 8 seconds, and the human now is like 6.8 or something like that. Is actually less than a goldfish. It's actually less than a goldfish.
2 weeks before taking a second step may ruin us. I may be asking the impossible here. I don't know. This right here could be exactly why the games industry has been able to get away with this crap for so long. Because no one has the attention span for this second step. Some of you can do it though. I know it. Some of you. But let's look at the rest of the campaign, because I am not stopping there. God, no. Though remember, everything I'm about to show you can be done in addition to that worldwide step. So there's no one or the other here. And with that, let's start with the outskirts. Australia. Okay, Australia
Is that where Australia is on the map? Oh, I'm so glad.
has a two-pronged attack. First, if you own the crew, you can file complaints to the ACCC, and they may do something. There was news not long ago about the ACCC going after the games industry. For God's sake, we need to find a way to piggyback onto this. Don't go after them and ignore customer games being destroyed. Don't do that to me, Australia. But besides that, Australia is also the first of our government petitions. And anyone in Australia can sign these, not just owners of the crew. And
I know I have some people in Australia that watch me.
honestly, you guys need to hurry up, because once it's approved, we only have a 4-week window. Except, of course, it's not ready yet, even though it's been submitted. They give us a small window, but then don't tell us when it starts. Oh my God. Now, the upside is we only need 50 Australians to sign, but that's nothing. If we show up with 50, they may not take it seriously.
I think we have 2 Australians in our chat. I think we have 2.
I'd rather we showed up with 50,000. It's like a wise
I would have 3. I would have 3 al dente.
game ad once said, "There's no kill like overkill." This is the most time-sensitive element of the entire operation.
There, Travis.
Go sign it as soon as you can. Future Ross again. I just got word from the Australian government that the petition looks fine, but they can't open it for signing until April 22nd or maybe May 15th. They don't know. So they can't even
Good old governments make you loop around and do some shit.
meet the 4-week deadline they're holding us to. What the hell, Australia? Moving on over, next we have Brazil. Now, Brazil is the wild card in all of this. All the feedback I received said their consumer protection agency would probably be ineffective, but having a class action lawsuit very likely would work. Apparently the argument of "we sold you a product, but we can take it back at any time" doesn't fly with a lot of judges down there. Now, at the time of this video, the situation was still in limbo, so this one may or may not happen. If it does happen, however, the cost of a class action lawsuit could be affordable if we have a fundraiser. I was told a 4-figure sum estimate. I currently do not have plans for a fundraiser, but if this looks viable, yeah, we may do one later. Don't worry, 90% of the battle plans still work even if no one spends a dime. Brazil is just part of the attack on all fronts mentality I've been taking. Moving on up is the United States. Okay, and moving on is
The United States, like, you're not going to get in through this door.
Canada. Now, the thing about Canada is the federal agencies can't do much on this issue, so we have to look at the provinces. Okay, the United States. Listen, guys, I want to keep it real with you. The US is the suicide mission of this operation. Unlike a lot of other countries, the laws are not
United States like the Mission Impossible. Bun, 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 bun.
gray on this issue. And at this point in time, it's almost hopeless. Almost. Owners of the crew can still contact the FTC, and I've been given coach points by a lawyer we can tell them to increase our odds to look into this. I am still not expecting a victory here. It's more like I just want to be sure our options
I mean, the FTC can't win against the gaming companies. They've already tried multiple times and failed, so there's that.
are truly dead in the United States before I write it off. I don't want to pronounce the patient dead too quickly. You know how that goes. And hey, don't forget, if you own the crew, you still have that option to contact France directly. In fact, I prefer you do that before you contact the FTC, since it has way better odds. Now, if you're an American and don't own the crew, which is probably the majority of my audience, then I have nothing for you. I'm sorry, guys. I really tried. I just couldn't find anything. Game ownership really is as bad as the nation.
So wait a minute. This only works for the 12 million people. To break this case open, the 12 million people that own the crew have to contact France. Wait the 2 weeks. And once they do that, they can open it up. And if that goes through, then it actually goes to the next step to the case of this.
Naysayers say in the United States. The best I can do is tell you to get the attention of someone else who does qualify to do something. Remember the 3 points. If you're an American and don't own the game, you're number 3. All right, back up to Canada.
I guess that's what we're doing right now, 1 and 2.
And ding, 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 Canada has our second petition to government. So if you are a citizen or resident, head on over and sign it. We only need 500 for government to respond. But again, let's try to get a lot more than that, eh? Now, for owners of the crew, we didn't check every last one, but the provincial consumer protection agencies look pretty dire. I cannot endorse going through them at this time. It's almost certainly going to be better if you just sign the petition. Crossing the ocean again, we have the UK. And it's a similar story as Canada. The consumer protection options look hopeless. But hey, we have a government petition. If we get 10,000 signatures, government will respond. And if we get 100,000, then it's considered for debate in Parliament. Now those sound like big numbers because they are, but we have 6 months to get them.
I mean, come on, you get half the votes right there from PlayStation fans. They have 55 million.
So I think if I keep campaigning, we can do this. And we move inland to the main attack here. First, let's stop by
The main attack.
Germany. Germany is one of the few
I feel like I'm watching a game of Risk right now.
EU countries where their national consumer protection is powerful enough to act on this, despite Ubisoft being a French company. So this is one of the few exceptions where you should contact the local agency first, then contact France like everyone else. Now, I learned late in the process, Germany and France have the option to petition their governments also. However, their thresholds are kind of high, and I can't hope to cross them without making serious inroads.
That's exactly right. This is how Sarge plays Dune Spice Wars. Do we have the assassination attempt like in Dune Spice Wars? I don't know.
With foreign YouTubers or other media sources first. So if we get enough support and publicity, sure, we can add German and French petitions to the list. But not today. And that brings us to the heart of this, France. This is where our most powerful attacks are. French owners of the crew are the Space Marines of this operation.
All right, France. This is you. You heard him. You are the Space Marines of this operation.
You have more options than anyone. The more you can do, the better. In fact, most people's best option is probably your weakest. Besides the DGCCRF, we'll also be sending registered mail to Ubisoft as part of summoning a government mediator to take legal action on the customer's behalf. It's almost like having your own
That's correct, though, Saint. But that's what he's saying. These petitions, this is not a petition like a normal petition that you see on the internet. Like, hey, if we show the company that we have 3,000 signatures, and that's not what this is. These are literal government petitions. If we get enough people to sign this petition, it goes in front of that actual government. This is what he's saying. The best people right now are people in France that own this. If they sign this petition, it will go into Parliament if they get 100,000 signatures. And if it gets to the 100,000 signatures, yes, it's a long shot. But if they get the signatures, then they have to they have to do it. They have to bring it to the actual to law. They have to vote on it and see what it is. They'll start taking more seriously. Okay, that's what he's trying to do. It's not just signing a petition going, no one gives a shit. He's trying to get people enough to give a shit so it goes to the higher ups so the higher ups can actually make the laws.
Prosecutor. Amazing. And just to hit every last stop, French citizens will be contacting the UFC Que Choisir, a powerful consumer advocacy group with a great record of defending gamer rights. And we actually juiced the whole process in France a little earlier prior to April, but that was the special operations phase of things. That part's over now, so don't worry about it. And for the rest of the European Union, this is where most of our dead ends were. Since first I thought people should contact their consumer protection agencies.
Nope, they don't care.
By and large, no. They tend to only look at national businesses, and Ubisoft is in France.
Yep.
So then the documentation says to contact the European Consumer Center.
Nope.
And no, I don't advise that either. We did do that for a while, but the answers were all over the place. Some said Ubisoft could do whatever they wanted because of the license agreement. Others said Ubisoft was liable to provide the service forever, which is kind of insane. I mean, that's going farther than even I want. But most of them had no idea how to handle this. One clerk said
it's not that they don't have an idea, they just don't care.
they had never heard of someone make this kind of complaint before. Another one of them said it is unclear if these actions from the company are legally permitted. There is no clear legal regulation for this. So that's from the European Union itself, guys. There's no consistency. Nobody knows what the hell is going on. There's apparently no laws on this.
Nope. And this is what Sarge has always said. There is no protection for consumers. There is no protection whatsoever. Right now, it's the Wild West for companies, and they can do what they want by just putting a line in the OK button that you have for the license, the TOS agreement that you have before you play the game.
What year is this? I mean, we're still getting robbed. It's amazing game companies have been able to go on for so long existing between the cracks in the law like this, like cockroaches. We need to shine light on it. And on that note, the final lane of attack is the Moonshot, which is the European Citizens Initiative. It's like the other petitions, but way bigger. This one is ambitious. It might actually be...
The funny part is, this is ambitious. Everything you've said so far is very ambitious.
delusional for me to attempt this. I don't know yet. But we would need 1 million signatures across the entire European Union for this one. And there are some caveats, so in reality, more than 1 million. However, we will have 1 year to get these. I sure as hell can't get this from my audience alone, but that's a lot of time. If I campaign hard enough, maybe we can get those. And if that wasn't enough, this is also the weakest part of the campaign. Because while we're ready to go, it takes months for the EU to approve your proposal before signing. So that means there's going to be months delay between now and when this goes public.
Right.
That is the kiss of death. That means we'll lose most of the momentum from April, and I'll have to come out and campaign for this again months from now. This one may be a bridge too far, I don't know. But again, this is me attacking on all fronts. And that's the campaign. We have up to...
That won't happen, PL, right? Because to get to that point of people that know who you are, let's say Asmongold is the one that... he's the Martin Luther King of this movement, let's just say. He's not, but let's just say he is. It wouldn't matter, right? Because you would have to have someone truly that doesn't care about money and pushing that type of stuff. Because if it hits you in the wallet, no one's going to do it. They'll back down in 2 seconds. They'll be like, yeah, let's do this. And then all of a sudden they'll go, no, just kidding. Right? From the future here, Ubisoft just got back to me. The petition passed. Ubisoft decided to bankrupt and avoid keeping a game alive forever.
to 11 fronts of attack, with maybe 13, though in reality 3 of these are pretty iffy. But the rest are relatively solid. This is happening, guys. This strategy is my absolute best effort as an amateur. Now, I'm biased when I say this, but if you care about not losing your games in the future, this is the best chance you're ever going to get to do something about it. As far as I know, no one has ever challenged the legality of game destruction, and certainly no one's attempted it on this scale. And I can't say by how much, but this is going to get bigger too. In fact, the next phase after this is to essentially spam myself on the internet to try to get more attention on this. I'll do interviews, appearances, just try to get people to make Twitter posts, whatever. I don't really want to do that, but if that's what it takes to end this, I'll do it. I have a giant list of people I plan to contact, though you don't have to wait. If you have an audience and want me to talk about this, you can save me the trouble and contact me directly. Or you can skip me entirely. I don't have to be involved in this. Just send people to stopkillinggames.com. It'll take care of the rest. I mean, it's a joke. I even have to do any of this for us to try not to get robbed.
Right.
But that's gaming for you. One thing to keep in mind is the trajectory for gaming is so bad, we have absolutely nothing to lose. I mean, how does gaming get worse than publishers destroying your games? We've already had a glimpse of the future, too. It's history now, but when Microsoft unveiled the original Xbox One,
There you go. You guys are just talking about Don just earlier today.
their plans showed us what game companies have in store for us. A surveillance device necessary to use the system that collects biometric data off you.
Oh, hold on a second. Let me check my phone. Requires surveillance device. Oh, wait. Check. Got it.
You needing to connect to the company every 24 hours or else you're locked out of your system.
Oh, let me check. Update for my my game that's on Game Pass. That every time I log in, is quick save. Check. Got it. Okay.
And when they eventually end support, your entire game collection becomes unplayable.
Oh, playing for Game Pass. If I stop playing for Game Pass, then I have no access to the games. Check. Got it.
Welcome to the future.
Yeah, Xbox One was so bad.
Now, soon afterwards, they realized they came in too hot and had to walk some of that back. But the industry has been taking the boiling frog approach since.
Yeah. Foregoing instructional videos applies only disc-based games. Multiplayer online access requires PSN account and PlayStation Plus subscription. Right? What they were doing before, that wasn't gonna fly. They're doing it now, and everyone's like, it's fine.
This is where we're already headed if we don't do anything on this. Now, I can't say if this campaign will be successful or not. But what I can say is if people put in the minimum effort, then we are going to get answers on this and close the book on this one way or the other. Again, if we pass the petitions, governments have to respond and own that answer.
The problem, though, I'll let him finish.
Consumer agencies get enough complaints, they probably will too. We won't have any more of this no clear regulation crap. I can almost promise you that much. Plus, if we win, can you imagine how good it will feel in the future knowing all your games are safe and you only have to think about whether you like the game or not? That's my vision of gaming for the future. It's a little different from the industry's. And if we lose, we'll at least get told straight to our faces that in a democracy, you can never own video games that you paid for, no matter how many people want that to happen. I guess this will be a civics lesson then. Finally, I'd like to end this by saying thank you to Ubisoft. You're a French company and you pulled this crap. And you did it to one of your flagship titles with millions of players. If this had been Electronic Arts or Blizzard Activision, I wouldn't have had nearly the options that I do. And a month later, you made a PR statement of saying people should get comfortable not owning their games. And then go on to lie in that same interview about online games being safe as you're killing the crew. I mean, what are you gonna do next? Threaten a judge? Here I've been thinking I have no way to fight this, and you go and create one of the best openings ever for me. Shame on me if I don't act on that. I mean, it's not perfect, but this is a solid 8.5, 9 out of 10 opportunity here. If we can't win on this, we'll never win. There's no doubt in my mind. You set yourself up for us, so we'll swing as hard as we can and see what happens. All right, that's it. Go to stopkillinggames.com.
Okay. So, interesting video. The problem, and look, there ain't nobody doing it. He's it. He said, the amateur, hour here, and he's the only person that's doing any of this. I would love to see that games don't get destroyed, right? There's a couple of games out there that end and they live on because someone takes it over and Galaxies, City of Heroes, Paragon, right? There's a bunch of different games out there that still live on. For this to go through, probably not going to happen. And let's just say it does, right? Let's say we get the petitions, you get the stuff that you're going to do, it goes through. Once it gets to the government, it's super simple. And this could be cynicism, all right? But the government would be like, they'll show up and say, why are you doing this? The company will be like, here's some cash. And then they'll be like, all right, thank you very much. And that's the end of it. They'll be like, sorry, can't do anything for you. And then we're exactly where we are now. But if you don't try, you don't know. So I do appreciate him going out and doing this. He doesn't have to. He's doing it because of passion of he doesn't want to lose video games. Okay? He wants to play his video games that he paid for. The only thing I can think of is basically what they're doing right now with remakes. Right? The remakes are the other rendition of if you want to keep playing the game, they're making that game again and selling it to you again. I know it's not a good thing, but that's what they're doing. For instance, we could have bought Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2, okay? But now you can buy a Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2 Classic Collection, which is supposed to be better, but it's worse. But that's what they're doing, right? They're preserving games by reselling you the same games of remastered stuff. It's not the answer to all the games out there. Because where's my Star Wars Galaxies game? I don't have one. There's not a remake of one. Right? But if I want to go play it, I can go play it because someone that was a fan has a server that's up. He needs to join the boys club. None of this can apply to Game Pass, Nintendo Online, or PlayStation Premium. Yeah. No, because it's their own service that you're paying to rent. Yep. I think the goodwill that you would get, though, not the companies give a shit about this, Jones, but like I said earlier, like if Sea of Thieves is only on Game Pass, and if they ever shut down Game Pass, then you would lose Sea of Thieves. But if you purchase Sea of Thieves, as long as I could play the single-player aspect of it, I think the goodwill that would go along with that would be phenomenal. But most companies don't give a shit about that. They care about the money. I had to rebuy Castle Crashers because they remastered it. Yeah, and I think that's the way the companies fight against people saying that, well, I would like to preserve the game. They're like, yeah, we are preserving it. We're remaking it again. 30, but can we remaster Star Wars Galaxies because of an online game? And would it hurt other games, single-player games? Don't do that. I mean, well, there's not a... If they opened up Star Wars Galaxies again, though, people would pay for... If they redid Star Wars Galaxies and brought it up to modern-day stuff like graphics and mechanics, they would make money off of that. But if you stop supporting it, if a company stops supporting a game, they should just put it out there for the regular people that want to open it up and do it. It's almost like the public domain, right? It's almost exactly like public domain. When a game gets to a certain point, if it doesn't exist anymore because the company stops supporting it or they lose the license or the copyright of it, okay, it should be an open source that it goes out to the world. They're not making money off of it. You know what I mean? Like, you could make stuff, we were talking about this last night. You can make stuff with Steamboat Willie, right? And then in 2035, Batman comes on into the public domain. So anyone can make a Batman thing. Anyone can make a Batman game, Batman movie, TV show. They can do whatever they want with Batman. They can sell t-shirts with Batman on it because it's now public domain. Video games, I don't think, should have the same rule as 95 years after it comes out. It should be once it's done being supported. Once it's done being supported, then it should go into that anyone that wants to mess with it or play with it can do it because they're done making money off of it. I would say that's more of a thing that you should do than fight for keeping your games, right? Because if you open it up to the company where they don't, if they stop supporting it and then it just goes into the open source where you can run with that game or play with that game for whatever that is, then you should be able to do it. That's why I posted that website. Yeah, months ago, I know. It gets put on that website. He's a funny dude. He loves games. He did a web show called Freeman's Mind, a comedy hour, half. Actually fun. I mean, they release and sell old movies in 4K. People buy, no complaints. That's fine. But I also have my movies saying... You're confusing the two, though, right? Right now, I still have my movie of the original Ghostbusters or Star Wars. And as long as I have a VHS or a DVD player, or I've moved those over to digital form by burning it on a disc or something, or burning it and putting it on my PC, I can still watch those, right? That's the difference. The difference is that if I want to go buy the new Ghostbusters or the remake of the remaster, or I want to go buy the director's cut of the movie, sure. If they want to charge full price for those things and people buy them, that's fine. But at the same time, I can still watch the original stuff. Just because they made a remaster of the stuff doesn't mean I can't watch my old one. I can still watch my old stuff. What he's fighting for is that I bought a game, I would like to keep playing that game even after you support it. IGN had to apologize to Stellar Blade devs openly for ridiculously their art style choices. Priceless. Did they really? Fantastic. We'll talk about that tonight, Sarge. Emulation, maybe? For as long as you have an original copy of the physical copy of that game. I think that might work, Chris. But that would mean that the company would have to put it on a... Sort of like Akuda Papa said, there's this website. Once you're done supporting it, maybe it goes to this website, right? Maybe it goes to this server house or whatever. And maybe if you have a copy, you just have to prove that you have that copy, right? In some way, shape, or form. If it's the original disc, you bought it from someone else, you still have it, you prove it, then you have an access to the to playing that game. I would be okay with that. This complaint is only for online purchases then? No. I literally have a game called Battleborn. I have this game. This game is a disc. I have the disc. I can't play this. There's a single-player game to this. Oscar Mike was one of my favorite characters in the game. I could play this game. Okay? I didn't need to be online to play the single-player game. Okay? They had a MOBA aspect of this game as well, and I cannot play this game. This is just this. It's a piece of art now. I can put it on my wall. I can take this disc and use it as a coaster, right? It's not about digital stuff. It's about having ownership of your game. I have this game. I bought this game. I want to play this game. I cannot play this game. Yeah, but that's older. That's older stuff. I can still play my older. I have all my systems. If I wanted to go play Atari 2600 game, I could take it to cartridge right now, put it in my 2600, even though it's 40 years of not being talked about or used or supported, and I can still play the game. With newer games, you do not have that. You do not have the right to play the games after they stop doing it. Discs have unique IDs on them, and you can also pull the support ends. Also, the company gives you a way to pull the ID and then grab the files for the servers and whatever for said game. Right. Right. Buying a physical copy of Helldivers is worthless. Because if they stop supporting the game, then it's done. Like, for instance, on Steam, everything's digital, right? Everything's digital. If they decide to take down a game off of Steam, you can't play that game anymore, okay? But if I should be able to download the game, right, and make a copy of that game so I can still play that game. And if there's a multiplayer game, it's just multiplayer, then if they're not holding the servers up anymore, then you can't play it. But if there's a single player aspect of that game on top of a multiplayer game as well, then you should be able to still be playing the single player component of it. You should be able to, in a one way, shape, or form, be able to, right? Because you're not buying the game. You're buying a limited license is what you're buying. Dave Langer says, also, look at the game like No Man's Sky. You can have the original disc, and if you no longer have access to the updates, you won't get to play the current version of No Man's Sky. Right. And that is what people want to preserve. People want to preserve that when they buy something, they can still play it after the fact. Yes, there's games that fall under that you won't be able to play. If it's just a full-on multiplayer game, then it's going to be impossible. But at the same time, if they stop supporting it, then let the company, like, meaning not support it, meaning they're doing nothing with it, and they're not going to do anything with it. So, like the thing you said earlier with MAG, okay? Maybe they should release MAG and put it out there. So anyone that wants to put it up on a server, right? They can't charge money for it. They can't charge any kind of money, anything for it. They just put it on a server out there. And someone that wants to put it up on a server for people to play, then they should be able to do that because the company's not making money off of it anymore. They don't market it as a limited license rental, though. They market it as selling you a physical product in your hand and final point of sale. That's right. But it wouldn't be pirating. If they're not supporting it anymore, Ray, then it wouldn't be pirating because you're not stealing it from anybody. They're literally putting it out there for you to do what you want with. Kurt Manson says, I have 360 to play all the college football and basketball games. Right, you can still do that. Like, if I have a game that I want to play, I have a working 360. I can put the game in. I have a working PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, right? I can put them out there and play them because they still work. Now, if this breaks, now obviously I can't do it. So then I would have to go to a repair shop, and a repair shop would have to fix it for me, but that's on me then, right? Yeah, it's just, and it's not, it should be no, there should be no argument here. It should just be that we paid for it. I want to still continue to play it. Okay? Until it breaks. Right? Like, think about this. Gigantica, the game that just came out again for $20, right? 6 years ago it came out, and they stopped supporting it, and they shut down the servers. Right? So people that played it before couldn't play it anymore because it was free to play. Okay? But now they're launching it again, and it's a multiplayer game, and they're charging you $20. But what happens if it shuts down again? Now they got $20 for the game they shut down. Copyrights are a bitch. After 50 years, open it up to public. I don't know, 50 years seems like an eternity for video games. I would say just once you're done supporting it, right? Maybe 3 years, 5 years after they support it, because they can hold it as long as, like, so for instance, let's say Destiny. Bungie has Destiny or Sony has Destiny, and then all of a sudden they stop supporting Destiny 2. 5 years later, Destiny 2 opens up to the public, or 10 years later, something. They stop supporting it, and then the public can do it, you know? I still have R2-D2 360. It's one of those things I couldn't come out to sell, which means too much for me because of R2-D2. These files and apply to status on the website to show as an official server. Yeah, there just needs to be something officially, though. Okuda Papa. Officially, not just a fan-made site type of thing. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to figure out if the single-player aspect is considered a tutorial, or am I not recalling a single-player game that I can't play? Are you talking about MAG? I don't remember if there... I don't think there was a single-player in MAG. I don't think there was a single player in MAG. If that's what you're talking about. I don't recall single player. MAG was a massive multiplayer online first-person shooter game developed by Zipper Interactive for PlayStation 3. The game released in North America on January 2010. Yeah, I don't think there was a... Yeah, it was just multiplayer. It gets weird with trademark and copyright. If it's like a Marvel game and they're done... If the company is done playing the game, they're done supporting the game, Marvel's contract means is zilch and done with, right? The trademark would be for the game, and when the game is done being supported, then that's done. They should be able to just put, if no one's making money off of it and it's just preserving it, I own the game, I should still be able to play that game, which they do now. They delist it so no one else can buy it because the trademark is done, right? But once they're done supporting it, right? Technically, they're still supporting it. That's why you can still play it. Okay? Once they're done supporting it, that's what we're talking about. Right? Like Transformers, I had to go buy the physical disc of Transformers Fall of Cybertron. Okay? We had to find a disc to play it. They're not supporting it, but you can still play it. Once they're done supporting, meaning you can't play it anymore. They delisted it. It's gone. Okay? Where no one can buy it new. But if you have a disc, I can buy that disc, put it in my machine, and play it, and it works fine. That's the difference. Why not just let us fight bots? Because then there might have to be some work to go on behind the scenes to make it work. Oh, Battleborn was the question. Does the Crew game that they mentioned have a single player? And that's being removed. I'm not sure about that with the Crew. I think there was a single player in the Crew. And then there was a multiplayer aspect of the Crew as well. Battleborn, there's a single player skill tree and everything. I never ever played the multiplayer in this game. I only played the single player. Stream key resellers still have many Transformers keys. Crew plays like Suicide Squad. Okay, so you could play by yourself, and then people can drop in, drop out type of thing. All right, it's 1:15 or close to 1:15. That's a long show. It's a long show. We went over Microsoft charging for more for Windows 10. We went over the IGN article from Dustin Liguri talking about Xbox and, PlayStation and Nintendo, how they're making money other than just the console sales. We talked about Ubisoft Forward confirmed for June. We talked about Hellblade for the 30 frames per second, about Xbox, and then we watched the video called "The Largest Campaign Ever to Stop Publishers Destroying Games." So those are all the topics that we talked about today. I do appreciate you guys coming out and having a conversation with me. We'll be back tonight for Generation X Gaming, the weekly podcast that goes over a few of the top stories from the past week, and we rant along the way. That's at 8 p.m. tonight, right here on 30 NSG. I appreciate it very much. Make sure if you guys want me to do the other podcast, I'm trying to reach out to other content creators. Some of you have given me information for other people. Maybe I should go look at and maybe try to get. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't have to be a gamer on YouTube. If there's a YouTuber that you watch that you would like me to interview, because basically my other show on this channel is to talk to other YouTube content creators and just get to know them, how they built their channel up, what they do, their work ethic, right? Games they play, just me bullshitting with other people. So if you have an idea of somebody you want me to talk to, doesn't matter who it is or what kind of content they make, I'll reach out to them and see if they want to come on the show. Go to our Discord. Our Discord is free for everybody. If you want to go into certain sections, it's for members only, but it's locked off for members only. But there's a feedback, and there's also, I believe, inside the Discord, it says, where is it? Is this it? That's the audio one. Podcast guests. All right, it's under a general tab. There's a general tab, and then underneath the general tab, there's podcast guests. Link their channel, link who I should watch, and see if you want to come on the show, right? I appreciate that. I'm trying to make this channel better for you guys, to have more content, more stuff for you guys to come back and watch. I appreciate it very much. You guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.